What do you got?
I think I can prove to a judge that both of these men had the mens rea.
What the hell is a mens rea?
It's a legal term the lawyers use. It just means the intention to commit a crime.
Okay, come on, let's go.
Mens rea?
Put the cuffs on him.
How could we have gotten mens rea? We take blood? Can you do it without taking blood? We both use condoms. How is this possible? I want to see a doctor. Can I have an independent blood test?
Money!
I feel sick.
What are you doing?
Mens rea! Oh! Oh! My God!
OJ Simpson kills those two people so hard, they stop making the Ford Bronco.
Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you? How is everyone? How are we all doing? Et cetera, et cetera. I didn't have Ari Jacobs' OJ intro locked and loaded here. I failed you all. Next week, it'll be back in its rightful place. But here we are. We've got our little OJ show here. We got 66 people here, 43 likes. That's just about right. Again, always our slowest, but most dedicated, most loyal stream of the week. This and Maritime Monday. Two niche streams, but good people here. Real quickly, we got a lot of Mazzola to cover. Let's do our whiskey of the day. I was going to make a cocktail, but I didn't have time. Let's see here. Today's whiskey of the day comes from Compass Box. This is the Compass Box Orchard House. Compass Box, as you might know, I'm not a big fan of blended whiskeys, but Compass Box, there isn't a single Compass Box product that I do not absolutely love. Orchard House is no exception. Compass Box makes some great blended whiskeys. Let's get into this one real quick. Right there on the nose, you first get hit with some vanilla, some light alcohol flavor. This is a 46% whiskey, so there's going to be a little more alcohol on the nose. The fruitiness, there's some butter, some vanilla, a little bit of citrus notes way up high there. This is an interesting one. It's called Orchard House. And it does have like strong peach notes, like peach and apple with a little bit of maybe orange and chocolate and cream on the finish. Oh, and now the vanilla is coming in really strong. With a light little creamy chocolate finish. Just ever the slightest little hint of maybe some peat there. Now, the cool thing about Compass Box is you can go to their website, you can run the bottle, and they will tell you exactly what's in this bottle. It's they're really transparent with what they make, and I love that. So please, if you haven't ever tried a Compass Box, do it. You won't regret it. That's our whiskey of the day. Got that out of the way real quick. Let's do our like and subscribe poll, and then bring up our let's bring up our co-host now. There's no reason to wait. Chandler.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hello.
Yes, yesterday we were all bedecked in blue, and we got the black thing going today. It
nice.
Must be telepathy. Must be telepathy. 2 days in a row.
I like it.
Weird. All righty. Well, it's time for our like and subscribe poll for all 81 people here. Oh, we're just about to set a OJ Simpson record.
Wow.
I wonder what our concurrent viewer record is for OJ. Can't be much more than 81, but we'll see. This is our fun stream. Like I said, it's chill. We've been doing this for 40. This is episode number 41, and Chandler and I are going to be putting our little noggins together and seeing what we can come up with for a 50th episode celebration of some sort. We'll put our heads together and think of something. We got about 2 months to get it worked out. And let's see. Again, it's just our chill stream. We just sit, we hang, we make snarky comments. It's sort of Murder Science 3000. That's kind of how we that's what we should start. We should start calling it Murder Science 3000.
It would be catchy.
It would. Need to get someone to do like a little tag for us, Anyway, our like and subscribe poll. Again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're still subscribed if you think you've already hit it, and take our little old poll of the day. Who was the real killer? OJ, duh. OJ's son random guys in knit caps and expensive Bruno Maglio gloves, or some random guy on a Florida golf course that OJ is still looking for. Those are our choices. Like, subscribe, and vote accordingly. Right, I think that's it. How are you doing this morning, Chandler?
I'm good. I woke up like super early because I fell asleep
You did.
super early. So I've just been putting stuff together for the day, and I'm very happy to be here as always. But I'm kind of sleepy still, so I need a little extra caffeine, I think.
Well, and the good thing is it's always happy. Always happy. Always a good thing to see you here so bright and sunshiny early in the morning.
I try. I mean, the sun isn't up yet in California, but yeah, I get what you mean. I love the hat today, Jeff. It's a really good one.
Well, did we have any exciting, especially interesting OJ related dreams? I know you've been excited for this stream for some reason for about the last 10 hours.
Wait, what's your question? Yeah, OJ related dreams?
Yeah, because you've been excited for this stream for about 10 hours, and then you slept in between there. So I was just like wondering if it crept over into your.
Oh yeah, because we were talking yesterday about the 50th episode, and I was like getting all these ideas together. I was thinking, what if I I think you mentioned what if I drive around in like a Ford Bronco,
yes.
and I got like a drone to kind of follow me down the highway, or if I went to the courthouse. Brentwood is not too far from me. I could totally go to the house. There are a lot of things that I could do that could be really fun. I happen to know somebody who's connected to the case, but we can talk about that another time. But I woke up thinking about it. I was like, 50th stream.
But nothing that cropped up in your dreams, huh?
Well, no, not my dreams. But when I woke up, I was just immediately planning ahead, because I like the idea of this 50th episode being special. So we can make it happen. I have some ideas.
All righty. Well, super. Well, we got about 2 months to work it out, so we should be.
I think that's enough time. Hey, Hayden, I see Hayden in chat. Good morning. Do I seem like I need caffeine? I am a little sleepy. Yeah, I have all this tea.
Petey Warren's 80829 with this $5 super chat to kick us off in super chat. And says, Jeff, you ruined Chandler streams for me ever since you mentioned Chandler, a strip club and nipples a few weeks ago. Bad, Jeff.
What?
What?
What that means?
I don't know what that means either. I don't remember that, and if I did, I deny it.
It's hard being a woman on the internet. That's all I have to say.
Did we talk about that 2 weeks ago?
I think maybe it was a reference to the Nerdlesque experience.
Yes. The Nerdlesque show. Yes. That would make sense. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense at all.
I really like the color coordination though. That's pretty dope.
It's the second night in a row. Yesterday, all four of us on the Amber Heard thing was wearing blue. It was kind of weird.
It wasn't yesterday. It was 2 days ago.
Then what was yesterday?
Yesterday, you had Megan on to do the.
Oh, Murdoch yesterday was Alec Murdoch. That's right.
Which was one of your best streams ever. It was so funny. It was so epic. Lots of people showed up. That was great. I love that.
What up, Hayden? We got Hayden and all of our mods here, of course. Flux. Oh, hey, Flux. You woke up. That's good. There we go. I think we need to get on with our Andrea Mazzola cross-examination.
Sounds good.
Because, as we know, Dennis Fung was on the stand for 8.5 days. I guess now's the time to let the cat out of the bag. Mazzola was on the stand for about 5 days.
Oh, God, was she?
Yeah.
Oh, how much? Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to be doing Mazzola for
probably next month and a half. But that's we're here for the giggles. That's what we're here for.
All right. Well,
I can witty banter and whatnot.
I'm a pro. What can I say?
Flux making excuses like being at work.
Yeah, whatever. Flux, come on. You should be here. You should really be a part of this, I feel.
What in the hell? Oh, God. Yeah. It seems that I have left the veranda door open where the garbage is, which explains the lack of dogs and an empty package of ribs. We're going to start this right up, and then I'll be right back. I need to go save the garbage. Okay, now I'm panicking. Slow down. Don't panic. I hear the garbage bags being rustled in the background. Breathe deep. Let's go. I'm going to push play, and then
Jeff,
I'll be
I can handle
right
this.
back.
Seriously, you know I can.
Oh, no,
Go
I
on.
said I'm just going to push play, and then I'm going to
Okay.
go. You can't push play. I have to push play.
Collection in this
Well, I
case.
know.
And turn the volume down a bit.
Overruled.
Yes.
And in fact, during that discussion, it was your
Right back.
testimony of August 23rd which precipitated that meeting between you and Mr. Fung. Isn't that correct?
I don't know if it was the testimony that's,
Well, Ms. Mazzola, isn't it true that when you had the meeting with Dennis Fung, after you testified on August 23rd,
I'm sorry, that was really funny.
he told you that he disagreed with your recollection of what you testified to at August 23rd? Isn't that correct?
Sustained.
Okay, focus.
How long after the How long after you testified on August 23rd was it that you had this meeting with Dennis Fung?
I have no idea.
And during that meeting with Dennis Fung, didn't he state to you that he had a different recollection than you had? One second. He had a different-
Sustained. State to you.
It's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, Your Honor. It's being offered to show that he stated it. And
Sidebar.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, counsel. You may rephrase the question.
Thank you. After you testified under oath on August 23rd, 1994, Ms. Mazzola, when you met with Dennis Fung, didn't he review with you his recollection as to who collected which items at Bundy and Rockingham?
Yes.
And would you agree, ma'am, that his recollection of who collected which items at Rockingham and Bundy in that meeting were different and contradicted your testimony at August 23rd?
So calls for conclusion and yours.
It's her statement.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
I
Hi, I'm back.
Everything good with the pups?
Well, we cut it off before they got too involved in trash destruction. So yeah, could have been worse. Just some ice cream cups and a little bit of beef rib packaging and half of a coconut. So
Oh, the coconut, the one that you bought from that convenience store.
yes, they were snarfing the insides out. But anywho, you know what my expression was when I went out in the room. I had a particular expression on my face when I saw what the dogs were doing. Do you know what that expression was on my face?
Yes, I do. I can picture it,
Yeah.
but you might want to show the audience in case they're not aware.
Should we show the audience what the expression on my face was?
Yeah.
All right, we had to do that. Peter Neufeld is cross-examining, so there we had to
Strawberry, put down the coconut.
do that. Yes. All right. So there we go.
Sorry, I was
Sorry.
trying to do a Monty Python thing. Don't mind me. Just every
Yeah.
time I think of the word coconut, you're just taking two coconuts and banging them together. Okay, go on.
For those of you that have never seen what the hell's just going on here, there are 101 of you. I'm sure someone hasn't seen that. I just think Peter Neufeld looks exactly like Kirk Sutherland. Why would I say Kirk Sutherland?
Kiefer Sutherland?
There's not Kiefer Sutherland's dad, Donald Sutherland.
Oh my god.
Peter Neufeld just looks like Donald Sutherland in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So, you know.
Yeah, I was worried you weren't going to be back in
That's
time, and when it closed up on him, I really, I don't know why, but now I want to see it. Every time I see his face, I'm just like, it's missing something. I was
It
waiting,
is.
so I'm glad that you came back just in time.
Just in
That's perfect.
time.
That was perfect.
All right, let's get on with it.
don't know. We talked about who collected what because it seemed like it was going to be a big deal rather than us working as a team. They want
Ms. Mazzola, this morning you testified that Dennis Fung collected the drops numbers 4, 5, and 6 at Rockingham. Is that correct?
Overruled.
May I check my notes to see which drops are 4, 5, and 6?
Please do.
Please do. Yeah, no, they just licked the inside of the coconut shell.
I want to hear Hayden try to do that
And isn't it fact, Ms. Mazzola, that when you testified on August 23rd
love
under
you,
oath, you testified that you personally collected every drop?
Wow, did you hear that?
Yeah, personally collected every drop.
No, the background noise.
What?
There's a noise in the background.
It's like
Listen
a
really
ringing?
carefully.
I heard the ringing. What was that?
Yes, listen to that. Very, very. What are we at? We're 2:40 or whatever the hell we are here. Let's go back a few seconds and listen to this, because what you all have just heard.
Yes.
And isn't it fact, Ms. Mazzola, that when you testified on August 23rd under oath, you testified that you personally collected every...
You may have just heard the world's first recording of a cell phone going off in court.
Huh, that's actually really funny.
That literally may be the first audio recording of a cell phone ringing in court.
I would believe that, certainly. I mean, when else would we have had the opportunity to hear it?
This was 1995.
Epic. Historical.
Exactly, Flux.
And also kind of banal, but still fascinating.
Now, this would be a 1995. I think that was like the dawn of the Nokias, I believe.
I wonder
Anyway.
whose phone it was. Because but they were very expensive, weren't they, as I recall?
Yes.
So it had to be somebody wealthy, and it had to be somebody connected. Maybe it was, it could have been Robert Kardashian. It could have been his cell phone.
Could have been anyone.
But if it was a Kardashian cell phone, that would have been even more epic or historical. We'll never know.
We'll never know.
drop at Rockingham.
Seize the phone, Deputy McNair.
Never page the line separation.
One moment. Page 698, beginning at line 22.
Evidence.
You have it, Mr. Goldman?
Yes.
All right, proceed.
Ms. Mazzola, you said a moment ago that you testified this morning on direct examination that it is now your recollection that Mr. Fung, not you, collected the drops, item numbers 4, 5, and 6. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And just so we can be very clear as to what items 4, 5, and 6 are, may I have one of the exhibits? Thank you.
Mr. Scheck, you want to assist Mr. Neufeld there?
Large bottle of Evan Williams.
Oh, beautiful.
Good.
I'll be right.
Oh, we get a printed piece of evidence. Cool. We get another diagram. Always love visual aids.
Ms. Mazzola, could you please step down from the witness stand with the court's permission?
Yes. Ms. Mazzola, would you try to keep your voice up, please? Thank you.
Ms. Mazzola, would you
And what
please
you
point
just
out
heard
for the
there is the
jury
world's first
that
recording of
Obama,
anyone telling a
where
woman to
drops
speak
4,
louder.
5, and 6
Just
are
kidding.
on
Don't
the
cancel me. I was
diagram,
joking.
Which is People's Exhibit 120.
Okay, 4 is right here. I can't hear you. 4 is right here in the street.
Indicating in photograph A, almost directly in front of the the number 360 on the curb.
5 is right here in the driveway, just outside of the gate.
And by the way, Ms. Mazzola, is number 5 also reflected in photograph A on the driveway?
Yes.
Okay. And could you now tell us where number 6 is, please?
And 6 is right here.
Indicating on photograph C on the same exhibit, a card that is
I know,
toward the rear
Kathy,
of
that was
item
so
number 5
rude of me.
and toward the
I should be
left
spanked hard.
of
What did you
number
do?
5. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I told a
Now,
sexist joke.
ma'am, this morning when you
And I
testified,
missed it. I'm so
you
mad
said
at you.
that it
I
was
wouldn't
now
do
your
that.
current recollection that items 4, 5, and 6 were collected by Dennis Fung and not by you. Is that correct?
Oh, does it really?
Is that
Does it
correct?
really
I
mistake?
believe so.
And isn't it true, Ms. Mazzola, that you can state it for 1 minute because we're going to come back to the board. Now, when you testified on August 23rd, by the way, when you testified on August 23rd, like this trial, it was a proceeding where you testified under oath. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How dare
In fact, when you testified on August 23rd of 1994, it was a mere 2 months after the incident, correct?
Yes.
Okay, whereas today you're testifying almost 10 months after the incident. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you testified on August 23rd under oath, were you asked these questions and did you give these answers? Question. And what items of evidence did you personally collect at Rockingham during that first visit? Answer. A red stain on the door of the Bronco and the red stains leading up the driveway to the front of the house. Were you asked that question? Did you give that answer?
I believe so.
You can sit down now.
Sit down, woman. Jeez.
Yes, go to the kitchen and make me a sandwich. What joke did you tell?
And in fact, Ms. Mazzola, was it during the meeting you had with Dennis Fung, after you testified on August 23rd, where he suggested to you that he had collected some of those stains at Rockingham? Did it happen at that meeting?
I don't recall if it did or not.
Well, at that meeting that you had with Dennis Fung, didn't you and he then begin to put notations down on a pre-existing field report?
I'll give him $1,000 if he points
You're
at it
making
like
notes,
this.
yes.
$1,000. What? No. Fox would copyright crush me. Ooh, silence in the card.
Side bear?
Yes, we plan on covering the Sarah Boone trial. Of course, we plan on covering the Sarah Boone trial.
But who knows when that's going to happen?
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't have a lawyer, so there are going to be significant delays.
Well, as long as they're being silent in court and he's fending off body snatchers, let's clear up these here. Peter Warren, 0829, in a repentant mode. It was a little bit ago when you were in the States. Yes, so it must have been the Nerd Let's Go. Don't worry though, I'm just teasing you a bit, thinking of wacky things to say and send you money. Well, thank you. Now, seeing how Chandler is monetized, you
Yes,
need to go over
speaking
there
of
and give her money out of repentance.
Speaking of sending people money, I'm having a celebration stream on Saturday, and hopefully, well, I know that Jeff wants to be my first super chat, but I've already gotten a super thanks from Jay.
Yeah, but you've got two shows lined up between now and then, though.
That's true. I
So,
do.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Whilst I'm asleep, so I'm not going to be anywhere near first.
I know it's very sad,
Oh, well,
but
it is.
But I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
And I wish I was drunk says, "Hey Jeff, hey Chandler, and Chad, how are we doing? We're doing great. We're doing so great. We're going to listen to some more cross-examination of Andrea Mazzola while she tries to worm out of the fact that she collected all of the evidence instead of Dennis Fung, although they both said Dennis Fung did it." Oh, Flux got Maker's Mark for the occasion. Cool.
Ooh. Wait, for what occasion?
Your stream.
For my stream? Oh my god, yay! Oh, I have to get
Yay.
whiskey. I actually really have to get whiskey. I'm out of everything. I have like this much mezcal left and a whole bunch of pear vodka for some reason.
Ew,
I need
just
a better.
pour it.
It's the word. Yeah, I'm just pouring it down
pour
the
it.
drain. Yeah, no. It's the, like Flux told me to make something with it. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Ms.
The Maker's
Mazzola, do you
Mark.
recognize that document?
Yes,
What is it?
a collection report.
And is it the collection report for the items of evidence collected at Rockingham?
Yes,
Yes.
And are
See,
the items which I
she's
just
so much
referred
better
to
at
as
answering
the
questions than
drops, the
Fung.
Rockingham drops, if you will, are they included on that list?
yes,
And are they noted on that list in the left-hand column by either a photo number and ID number?
yes,
All right. And if you now go over to the 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yes, that's all. He's
5,
almost
6
pointing.
columns. There's a column that says by. Is that correct?
yes,
And what would go in that column ordinarily would be the initials of the person who actually personally collected the item. Is that correct?
if at the time it was necessary, yes.
Right, but that's what that column is for, correct?
If the person collecting the evidence deems it's necessary to put the initials, yes.
When you filled out this report on that day, that entire column for every single item at Rockingham was left blank. Is that correct?
Yes,
Now, when you had the meeting with Dennis Fung, you had a photocopy of this document with you, did you not?
yes,
And during the meeting with Dennis Fung, he expressed to you his recollection
His
of which
recollection.
items he collected, correct?
we were discussing it.
Did he discuss with you and explain to you his recollection of which items he collected, Ms. Mazzola?
I believe so, yes.
And when he did that,
This is disgusting.
he said to you that it's his recollection that he collected items 4, 5, and 6.
All right, I got to stop and explain again why this is disgusting for those that may not know this. Do you know why they don't know whether Fung collected the blood samples or the other pieces of evidence or whether she did it? Because they didn't write it down on the evidence collection sheets. They literally did not write in order what evidence they collected the evidence in. They did not write who collected the evidence. And in some cases, they didn't write down what time the evidence was collected. But they would only mention the name of the person that collected the evidence when they were filling out the sheet in real time if they believed it was going to be important evidence. So they decided between themselves whether or not this was going to be important evidence, and if it wasn't, they just didn't put their name on it. And then if it became important, such as the blood sample of the murder suspect, later they have to go back and they had to have a little meeting and say, okay, there was this swab over here, we picked up this over here, we did that over there. Did you do that or did I do that? And they would try to remember who collected what piece of important evidence because they didn't think it was important at the time they put it down. That is absolutely disgusting. That's just dumb.
Right. What I don't understand about it is, were they doing that because they were incompetent? Were they doing it because they were lazy? Or were they doing it because they were trying to obfuscate some kind of important aspect of this case? Because there was so much corruption going on and so many things that were hidden that I really genuinely do not know.
No, they said they always did it. They just didn't write down who collected it if it wasn't important. And that's why Fung was saying, well, who determines if a piece of evidence is important? You or the jury? And that kind of caught him. And they said, but if it becomes important, then we write down who did it. So this is what they're talking about, this meeting to determine who collected what pieces of evidence.
Right. But don't you have a huge issue with the fact that Fung is saying that he did a lot of things that Mazzola actually did? Why would he lie about that? Why would that matter or be, why would he say, I don't understand. Is it just because he's the lead criminologist and he's responsible for those things?
Well, pretty much. I mean, she's only been doing it for like 18 months, and then it's like a gigantic murder trial, and he's just letting her do her thing as the trainee.
But taking all the credit for some reason, which, I mean, what's that about?
Well, I think he was doing it so that all of the important evidence in the OJ Simpson double murder trial wasn't collected by a noob.
Interesting. But I mean,
But
the lack of transparency makes them look so terrible. It makes them look so untrustworthy, and it makes all the evidence look really suspicious.
Well, and the fact that he thought nobody's going to ask him about that is just weird. But you heard his explanation when he was on the stand. It's just a tick he has.
Yeah, he says I. So when he means we or you.
So when
or
he's
her,
on the stand and he says I, he means we.
It's the royal I.
Yeah, no, I think that's not how that works. But bang.
Fung's adult.
Let's see it. Irish I Was Drunk says, why did Will Ferrell grow a mustache? No, that's Donald Sutherland, but close enough. Rare in history, it'd be good in a slush probably. Look up brandy slush and replace brandy with vodka. There's one reason you can't do that. Vodka doesn't freeze.
Yeah, exactly. That's
the alcohol content is too high. You can make a slushy out of wine and brandy, but you can't do it with vodka. It would melt your ice.
I could probably put it in a sangria eventually. I'm not going to waste alcohol, but I really hate vodka. I mean, I only bought it to make Moscow Mules to have with Steve Gosney, but anyway, doesn't matter.
You bought it specifically for the purpose of making a Moscow Mule, and you bought pear flavored.
I don't know why. I don't know. I make bad decisions, Jeff. I make really bad decisions.
I'm silently judging you. Let's get back to
no, totally judging me. I've earned it. I'm getting good whiskey for Saturday. Don't worry.
Let's get on with this thing.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
During that discussion,
I don't remember.
Well, have you had any other discussions with Dennis Fung about which items he collected other than this one meeting that occurred after you testified under oath on August 23rd?
I don't recall.
And when you had this meeting with Dennis Fung, you took notes, correct?
Yes.
And you made entries in that column where it says buy, is that correct?
Yes.
And for items number 4, 5, and 6, you put in that column buy Fung, did you not?
Yes.
And it's those notes that you made when Dennis Fung spoke to you after August 23rd that you are in part relying on today when you testify as to who collected what. Is that correct?
For that column, no.
You're not at all relying on those notes to refresh your recollection as to who collected what?
No.
All right. Are there any documents at all in this case?
No, in the wrongful death, it's not a criminal case. The standard of proof is much lower. They just had to prove it was probably more likely than not that he had something to do with it in some way.
All right. It shows you collecting a hat and shows you collecting a glove, correct?
But he was found liable.
Is there any videotape that you've seen that shows which bloodstains you're collecting as opposed to Mr. Fung?
There are a few instances, yes.
And in which videotapes are you referring to? Why don't you tell us which item it shows Mr. Fung collecting?
Oh.
The Bundy scene shows me collecting some of the blood, but I know that Mr. Fung also collected some of the blood at Bundy.
Is there any videotape that shows Mr. Fung collecting any blood at Bundy?
I don't believe there's any videotape of him personally collecting.
Is there any videotape showing Mr. Fung collecting any blood at Rockingham?
I don't believe so.
All right. So if there's no videotape showing Mr. Fung collecting the blood at Rockingham, are there any reports that were filled out contemporaneous to this incident where it identifies Mr. Fung as the person who collected blood drops at Rockingham?
Would you please rephrase the question?
Were there any documents filled out contemporaneous to June 13th and June 14th identifying Mr. Fung as the person who was collecting any of the drops at Rockingham?
I don't believe so.
All right. So when you testified today, ma'am, in the absence of, I'm sorry, one last question. There's no videotapes and there's no documents. Are there any still photographs showing Mr. Fung collecting any of the blood drops at Rockingham?
I don't believe so.
So in the absence of any videotapes, photographs, or documents, You're testifying today based on your independent recollection of what transpired back on June 13th. Is that correct?
The videotapes help me to remember what happened on that morning.
Ma'am,
Answer the
Are there
question.
any videotapes at all which show Mr. Fung collecting a single blood drop?
I believe there's one at Bundy.
Where Mr. Fung is collecting the blood drop?
Mm-hmm.
A moment ago,
Excuse me. Is that yes or no?
Yes.
A moment ago, you said that there was no videotape of Mr. Fung collecting any blood drops. Is that correct?
It shows it shows both of us at the one area where blood was collected. It shows me collecting some, and it shows Mr. Fung collecting some.
Shows Mr. Fung actually swatching some at Bundy?
Yes.
Okay, and which drop is that he's collecting at Bundy?
It was, let me refer to
On the videotape.
Right, I need to refer
Go
to my
ahead.
notes to find out which one.
Wait. Ms. Mazzola, let Mr. Neufeld finish asking you the question before you start answering. Mr. Neufeld, let her finish answering before you ask the next one. Thank you.
Ido's getting annoyed. Ido's getting annoyed.
Photo ID number 110.
Well, they're talking over each other.
I'm referring to the evidence collection sheet.
Mr. Neufeld.
And you know what property item that is?
Let me see. $45.
And that's not one of the Bundy blood drops, is it?
It is a blood sample taken from Bundy
What?
And where is it taken from at Bundy?
on a rail.
Ma'am, are there any videotapes at all showing Dennis Fung collecting any of the, what's been referred to over and over in this trial as the Bundy blood drops?
No, that's overall.
Sustain what you do.
Is there any videotape at all showing Dennis Fung collecting any of the blood drops that are on the walkway leading to the rear alley at Bundy?
Ooh, saucy.
I don't believe so. None that I've seen.
And are there any videotapes at all showing Dennis Fung swatching any of the blood drops at Rockingham?
So there's
videos
no
that I have
evidence
seen.
that Fung was rooting around
So
her
now
back alley.
focusing on
huh?
Rockingham,
Okay.
ma'am. There's no videotape showing Dennis Fung collecting any blood drops there, correct?
Correct.
There's no still photographs showing him collecting any blood drops there, correct?
Correct.
And there's no documents that were made contemporaneous to this whole matter on June 13th or June 14th, which suggests that, which shows him swatching any blood drops at Rockingham. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so when you testified today, this morning, that it's your recollection that Dennis Fung collected items 4, 5, and 6, you're testifying based on memory. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Not based on
Evidence.
any document, photograph, or videotape that you have seen showing him actually doing that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that recollection that you now have, ma'am, is in part influenced by the meeting that you had with Dennis Fung after you testified on August 23rd. Isn't that correct?
No.
At the meeting when you testify, I'm sorry, at the meeting you had with Dennis Fung, Ms. Mazzola, you said that Dennis Fung
Ooh, I like that
told you
patronizing.
that it was
Miss
his
Mazzola.
recollection that he collected items 4, 5, and 6, correct?
No.
During the meeting that you had with Dennis Fung after August 23rd, didn't he tell you what his recollection was as to which items he collected at Rockingham?
We were discussing the scene in general.
Ma'am, during that discussion, did Dennis Fung tell you what his recollection was as to which blood drops he collected at Rockingham?
I don't believe he said he recalled his recollection.
Well, ma'am, the last time, did anything happen? I'm sorry, since you testified on August 23rd, until you had this meeting with Dennis Fung, did you speak to anyone else about who collected which items at Rockingham other than Dennis Fung?
I don't believe so.
And did you review any photographs reflecting who collected which items at Rockingham between your testimony on August 23rd and the time you met with Dennis Fung?
I was able to review some of the still photographs.
But the still photographs don't depict, as you said a moment ago, Dennis Fung collecting anything, correct? At Rockingham.
So she's looking at pictures of Dennis Fung not collecting evidence to remind her of the times he collected evidence? Ma'am, answer the question. Ma'am,
Mazzola.
ma'am. Damn. Ma'am. It's ma'am. That'd be funny. Anyway.
Oh, God.
Yeah. What's this? The angry birds are going to start flying out of her hair soon to attack the one making her upset.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I can't remember who it was a couple weeks ago who made this joke that, like, there are just a bunch of birds living in her hair. And I keep thinking about that continuously. I love that Flux remembers that, too. Oh, boy.
Yes, for real. Being evasive is super annoying. It's a waste of time. Well, that's why Fung was on the stand for 8.5 days, and she was only there for 5 days because she's slightly less that way. But here you can see her failing miserably to just fess up to what they did.
I mean, like, God, with Fung, it's like you ask him a question, he never says yes, he never says no. He always has to like go into this like long, drawn out. It's like pulling teeth with him. With her, at least she sometimes gives like one-word answers that are direct, but she's still very evasive, and it's irritating.
And JKD Buck 76 says we all have all kinds of unconventional mnemonic techniques to remember things. Hers just happens to be total BS. Pretty much.
Wait, what's the mnemonic? I think I missed that.
Just memory things he was saying. It's just don't overanalyze wit.
Got it.
She has ways of remembering things. Hers is just stupid. Like looking at him not collecting evidence reminds her of what evidence he did collect. Oh my lord! Somehow Yoda found the other half of the coconut shell. Let's go. I'll be right back.
All right.
That's correct.
I heard crunchings and munchings back there.
And
Yeah,
last
my cats
time
do that.
you were asked to articulate who collected what at Rockingham then was in sworn testimony that you gave in this courtroom on August 23rd, 1994. Is that correct?
It was Chad. It was
When
Chad, I
you
promise.
testified in this courtroom on August 23rd, 1994, you said that you personally collected every single one of those blood drops, including the Bronco door and the drops going all the way up the driveway at Rockingham. Isn't that correct? Isn't that correct, ma'am?
I don't know what the testimony was exactly.
Did you hear me read the testimony to you just 5 minutes ago, ma'am?
Sustained.
Oh, that was a little sassy.
Ma'am, when you testified on August 23rd, when you asked this question, did you give this answer? 698.
Well, Yoda's definitely got the fiber for the day.
Question. Okay.
Good luck with that. My cats do that all the time. They're
Eat
little
halves of
trash
coconuts?
goblins. They get into the trash and they'll bring like empty hummus containers or whatever they can find and just.
No, he doesn't perm his hair. It's just naturally that way.
Question. And what items of evidence did you collect? You personally collect?
Sorry, I just went full Annie Hall there.
Answer.
What evidence
the red
did
stain
you
on the door of the
collect?
Bronco and the red stains leading up the driveway to the front of the house. When you asked that question, did you give that answer?
I just went all Annie
And
Hall
you
there,
knew,
my
ma'am,
brain.
when I asked you at that time, when I asked you what you personally collected, you took that to mean those stains that you personally, with your own hands, swatched. Is that right? As opposed to someone else doing it?
Yes.
Just thinking about chasing lobsters behind the refrigerator now. I can't.
Seriously,
evidence
at
did
that
you
meeting with
collect?
Dennis Fung. By the way, do you remember when that meeting with Dennis Fung was had?
I have no idea.
What was it, a week after you testified? Was it the day after?
I do not recall.
Was it the same month?
I do not.
You don't even know if it was the same month?
I do not recall.
Was it September?
I don't know.
Was it October?
All right, well, cumulative at this point. Counsel.
Oh, she sounds pissed.
Ooh, look at that jawline. That is clenched.
I don't know.
Like you can see defined muscle between her chin and her
Ma'am.
lips. Wow, she's pissed.
Yeah,
You
she's
made
swallowing
entries
her.
on that
You can see her
blank
Adam's
sheet
apple.
during that meeting with Dennis Fung, didn't you?
Yes.
And the place where you made entries, ma'am, was in the column that said which item was collected by whom, correct?
Correct.
And have you looked at those notes with those entries that you made?
Yeah, but
at your
joke's
meeting
on
with
us
Dennis
because
Fung
Reagan really
at any time
couldn't
before you took the
recall.
witness stand today to help you refresh your recollection?
By looking at that column, no.
Did you ever look at that column at any time prior to your testifying today to help refresh your recollection? Didn't look at it at all?
I don't believe so.
What are you, stupid?
I mean, come on, lady. You're testifying for a really important trial. You're not going to go over your notes, trying to figure out, when you collected things so you can prepare a
Well, there's
little bit.
nothing to go. There's no notes to go over. Nobody wrote anything down.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point, Jeff. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Now, other than your meeting with Dennis Fung and your meetings with Michelle Kessler, your supervisor, to discuss your involvement in this case, since August 23rd, have you had any meetings with representatives of the district attorney's office?
Yes.
And when was the first?
I don't recall when the first one was.
Well, would it be fair to say there have been many since August 23rd?
There have been a few, yes.
Few? How many
Hasn't-
have there been, ma'am?
I don't know the exact number. It has not been every day.
Well, how many times have you met with the district attorney's office during the last 2 weeks?
Is it that many you can't
Maybe
remember?
5 or 6.
That sounds like every other day.
And during the month of April in total, how many times have you met with the district attorney's office?
I have no idea.
Or would it be perhaps another 5 or 6 times?
I don't know.
Well, I just want you to approximate, ma'am, as best you can. Might it be an additional 3 or 4?
Could be an
Ballpark.
additional 2 to 4. I honestly don't know.
Okay. Now, during the month of March, did you have any meetings with any of the district attorneys?
I don't remember.
You don't remember whether you met with them or not during the entire month?
I had other work to do. I don't remember when I met with them exactly.
Did you meet with them at all during the month of February?
I don't recall.
I'm
You
not
say
sure,
you
but I
don't
think the
recall.
Gens-
You're saying
the
that you may
Gens
have met
Act
with them, you
only
just have no
applies to
recollection of the
federal
I
account.
may
criminal
have met with them. I
prosecution.
don't recall.
I believe. I could be wrong.
What about in January?
I don't recall.
Does the same hold true for December? I'm sorry, you have
Oh,
to
yes.
answer verbally.
Yes, it does.
And November?
All right, we're getting cumulative at this point again.
So would it be
Mr.
fair to say
Fadden
that
is
you may
making
have
you
met with the district attorney's office during the months of November, December, January, and February, but at this point in time, you just can't recall if you did, and if you did, how often?
That's correct.
However, you know for sure that you met with them many times during the month of April. Is that correct?
I met with them sometimes in April, yes.
Well, you said, ma'am, just a moment ago that you met with him about 5 or 6 times during the last couple of weeks, right?
Some of that was on the phone. Some of it was all for 5 minutes.
And you said that you met with them anywhere from 2 to 4 times during the first part of April as well. Is that correct?
It's possible, yes.
So that could be as many as 10 times just in the month of April alone. Is that correct?
Yes, possible.
Now, you mentioned that some of the sessions may have been on the telephone. How long was the longest session at the district attorney's office?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Well,
She
did you
doesn't
ever
know
spend an
anything.
entire day here? Looking at videotapes and talking to the district attorneys about your
God,
involvement in this
she's
case,
useless. Useless.
The major part of a day.
which would be perhaps 8 to 10 hours?
No, not that long.
Six.
Probably 5 to 6.
5 to 6 hours. And how many sessions did you have of that nature?
I don't recall, not many.
Perhaps 3 or 4?
Probably just closer to 3, 2 or 3.
2 or 3 sessions, which lasted about 5 hours. And at those sessions, ma'am, which lasted 5 hours,
Mr. Neufeld, let her finish the answer.
sorry, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, I can't remember what you asked.
And at those sessions, which lasted approximately 5 hours, those 2 or 3 sessions, how many different prosecutors were with you?
It wasn't a solid 4 or 5 hours. It was on and off, sometimes watching videos. I don't recall who was with me or how many.
Okay, well, I take it if you don't recall how many people were with you, there was at least more than one prosecutor there with you.
Sometimes one, sometimes more than one.
Well, when there was sometimes more than one, were there as many as 3 or 4?
No.
So you're saying the most that you ever had in any of these 5-hour sessions was 2 prosecutors?
It's on and off.
What is
Mr. Goldberg, one of those 2 prosecutors?
Sometimes, yes.
And sometimes there were other prosecutors there instead of Mr. Goldberg?
Yes.
And who were the other prosecutors who you met with?
I don't know their names.
Well, were they people who were in this room?
I recognize one,
And who was that man?
the young lady sitting behind the audiovisual table.
Indicating Diane Martinez.
Okay. Were any of the other district attorneys who you see in this room present during any of those sessions?
They might have walked in and then stayed a minute or so and walked out.
But you don't have any recollection of any of those assistant district attorneys prepping you for your testimony?
No.
Did any of these district attorneys at any time take you into a courtroom?
No.
Now, ma'am, other than the notes that you described before that were made on June 13th and June 14th that you've reviewed in connection with this case, have you made entries onto any other notes at all, or those notes to help you testify today?
No.
Are there any notes that you've made that are not your original notes?
Other than trying to condense some of the information so it'd be easier to find, no.
Well, you said you did make notes during your meeting with Dennis Fung, correct?
That was just what we had discussed on the collection by.
And those notes were made both on the Rockingham evidence collection sheets and the Bundy evidence collection sheets?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like permission to make a photocopy of those, if I may.
Certainly. Do you have those with you?
Yes.
All right.
Three-ring binder. It's a three-ring binder ASMR. Snap it shut.
Mazzola, I want you to hand those
Flap
to
the
me.
folder.
There are 2 groups.
Right.
All right.
Hi, strapping young guy.
Have I been muted? Damn it.
What?
Ma'am, during any of these sessions,
Did you-
by the way, when was the most recent session you had with the district attorneys?
This
Did you
morning.
mute me?
No.
And did you meet with them yesterday as well?
Oh, I muted myself. Sorry.
No, actually, I didn't
This morning.
this morning.
And before this morning, when was the last session?
Monday.
And
Or
during
Tuesday.
any of the sessions,
Excuse me, Tuesday.
and during any of the sessions that you had with the district attorneys, did they review with you any of the issues that came up during Mr. Fung's testimony?
Sustained. It's vague.
During those meetings with the district attorney's office, Did either Mr. Goldberg or anybody else in that office tell you that there were certain problems with Mr. Fung's testimony?
Overruled.
I don't believe so.
Never mentioned that at all to you?
I don't believe so.
I think that's something you'd remember. Right?
Yeah.
Because it would have
Now,
implications for your
ma'am,
job
would you agree
and your
that
testimony, maybe?
crime scene processing is a specialized discipline requiring classroom and on-the-job training in order to be proficient?
Yes.
And would you agree, ma'am, that one of the things you must learn is to recognize and
To
identify
write shit
potential
down.
evidence?
Yes.
And it's also necessary to properly document each item,
Yes.
to be able to photograph it accurately and to measure it.
Correct.
And it's essential to properly collect and properly package the evidence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And would you also agree, ma'am, that it's imperative that you establish and maintain the chain of custody on each item?
Yes.
And that's critically important, is it not, in order to demonstrate that any particular item of evidence all along, as it passes from person to person or from laboratory to laboratory, remains the same item?
Overruled.
Yes.
And it's also critical, ma'am, is it not, to ensure that the integrity of each particular item has not been compromised?
Sustained.
I just really want him to ask. You're shitty at your job,
Would
aren't
you
you?
agree?
Combination of terms of critical and integrity. Why don't you have her define those terms?
Or would you agree,
Yeah,
ma'am, that
define
part of
integrity.
maintaining that chain of custody and getting it right is to ensure that the item hasn't been tampered with?
That's correct.
And would you agree, ma'am, that another aspect of that, maintaining the chain of custody, is to ensure that the item hasn't been contaminated?
That's
Overruled. Overruled.
Now,
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
on direct examination, you were giving us some background as to your previous employment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Oh, did it involve a poll?
I think you mentioned that your first job out of college was with the Kern County DA's office.
Right.
You said you worked as a criminalist there, right?
That's correct.
But that was only a temp job, wasn't it?
It was a temporary position as a criminalist. Yes.
Right.
What does Kelly Services have? Like, we need a criminalist, and they're like, okay, anybody on Kelly Services, like a Kelly girl criminalist? What's a temp job criminalist? Jesus.
I've never heard of that before. I mean, it might exist. I haven't heard of
What do you
Kelly
just like-
Services, but I mean, I presume
They,
that's like
they
a
do
temp
like all the
agency.
temp service providers.
Yeah, I've never temped, so I don't really know about that.
Wow.
Wait,
Kelly
so how
girl.
long did she work for this department? I'm curious. Like, are we?
Like the temp service?
No, I mean, I'm saying like Mazzola. How long had she been a criminalist? How long was she assisting
Well,
Dennis Fung?
Not very. Like
Long.
That's why she was supposed to have been his assistant and learning from him rather than doing it all. So this is when they're going back and trying to rehabilitate her. But she volunteered as a temporary criminologist for 18 months to show that she had 18 months of experience.
I mean, it just doesn't make
She had
sense.
none.
It doesn't make any sense to me that, okay, like they're gonna pass off this really important case. He's gonna ask her to do all of this work. This is not the time. I mean, this is a huge, I don't understand.
He's Dennis Fung. That should be enough an explanation.
Okay, I get, okay, we watched Fung, we're watching Mazzola. I look at the LAPD and I think they're all corrupt. So are the criminologists part of the corruption, or are they just, really incompetent? Is it just incompetence? I don't know. I just get very frustrated with both
Until
of them. They're both very frustrating to listen to on the stand. It's just very annoying.
Well, good, because we've only got like another month and a half of this, so
yeah.
Enjoy being annoyed.
Nah.
Let's see, what do we got going here? We have one. Nope, we have 0 super chats. Don't make me bring in Megan Fox here to shame you. No, just kidding. Let's get going.
Chat.
And in fact, you were laid off in that position, correct?
Correct.
And your next job after that temp position with the Kern County DA's office was in the private sector. You're working with a private laboratory, right?
That's right.
You weren't working as a criminalist then, were you?
Toxicologist.
But you weren't working for a law enforcement agency,
No.
processing crime scenes or doing criminalist work.
Not processing crime scenes, no.
And you weren't working for any law enforcement agency, correct? In that job.
The laboratory I worked with contracted work from various law enforcement agencies in the area.
But
So
you were
basically
not
everything you
going
just said
out
is
and actually
bullshit.
involved in the collection of any evidence when you had that job.
No, I wasn't.
Now, you said you joined the LAPD in January of 1994?
Excuse me, Mr. Neufeld, let me, forgive me for interrupting you. Let me see counsel without the report. Let me see Mr. Cochran.
Mr. Cochran, what?
About what?
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Neufeld, we're about
What that was
to
about.
get into LAPD employment.
Now, I don't know if what they just were talking. I have no idea what they were just talking about at that sidebar, but we'll talk about here in just a minute. Right near this, a huge uprising took place in the jury, among the jurors.
Right.
I don't know if this was like the first indication that something was going on or what. But anyway, we'll talk about it here in 20 minutes or so.
Oh, huh.
When we finish the day, because it happened either right at the end of this day or at the beginning of the next week. But and see, and notice how his collection of things is continuing to grow. His
Bush McFadden's
hourglasses.
asking about the hourglasses.
Yeah.
Apparently we have some new people watching OJ, so they haven't heard about Lance Ito's thing with hourglasses.
Yeah, he had an hourglass on his desk and mentioned he liked hourglasses. So fans started sending him hourglasses and he started collecting them on his desk. Weirdly inappropriate as far as I'm concerned to be accepting gifts from viewers and 2 putting them on his desk. But yeah, that's why they're there, because he collected hourglasses apparently, and so everybody started sending them to him.
Which is why he has kind of a reputation as a fame whore. It's a little bit of a part of it. So.
This is kind of where it started, yeah.
Yeah.
The trinkets from the souls he consumed.
Yeah, before I did my first OJ episode with Jeff, I watched the People versus OJ Simpson, the serialized version of it. It was strangely accurate, and they used the hourglass motif in like this dramatic way that was really compelling. So anybody who hasn't seen that, who's interested, should watch it. I mean, it's really good. But anyway, yeah, the hourglass thing is weird.
And Kathy 4 with the $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Kathy 4. Next, you've got to get the bare butt Sutherland clip from Animal House for the stream. Yeah, I like my channel.
Yeah,
bare buttocks are not allowed.
We all know what happened to Lincoln, so we want to kind of avoid that situation.
Yeah. Well, it was a little more than a bare butt, but same principle applies.
Yeah.
Right. Moving right along.
I need more tea. Is this a good time to get more tea?
It should be.
Okay, all right. I'll be right back.
Please, thank you. My apologies for interrupting.
OJ threatened to stab the gallery. Ma'am.
Mr. Neufeld.
Notwithstanding the fact, ma'am, that when you joined the LAPD in January of 1994 as a criminalist 1, as of June 13th, 1994, you were still a trainee, weren't you?
Yes.
I was a criminalist 1.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Now, again, this was a big thing they went through with Dennis Fung. He's like, she was your trainee. mean, she'd been there like 6 minutes. So she was your trainee. And he's like, no, she's a criminalist 1. We don't have trainees. A criminalist 1 is a fucking trainee. They don't have like a criminalist 0 or a criminalist 0.5. They have a criminalist 1, level 1. What is everything? Level 1 is a fucking tutorial. She's on the tutorial level of being a criminologist. But she doesn't want to admit to being a trainee because that wasn't her official job title. Ugh. So yeah, now they're going to argue about whether a criminalist 1 is a trainee or whether it's just a criminalist 1.
Weren't you also still a trainee at that point?
It's A is to determine training.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
I was employed as a criminalist 1,
Well, what
God
day
damn it.
was your first day at work, ma'am?
January 24th.
January 24th?
Oh, geez.
On January 23rd, you were not a criminalist 1. Is that right?
That's correct.
And on January 23rd, you had no prior experience doing crime scene collection. Is that right?
That's correct.
On January 24th, you become a criminalist 1. Is that right?
That's right.
As of January 24th, though, you still had no experience doing any crime scene collection. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So with respect to crime scene collection, even though you are a criminalist 1 as of January 24th, 1994, weren't you in training in crime scene collection as late as June 13th, 1994?
So she was a criminalist for 5 months.
It depends on how you use the word training.
Well, would you consider yourself a trainee as of June 13th, 1994?
Training in what?
Overruled.
In a trainee in the technical aspects, no. A trainee in the discretionary viewing of a crime scene, yes.
Page 689.
Yeah, I'll check this. It's not inconsistent. Yeah, that's
All right, let me see the transcript, please. Mr. Robertson, I need the transcript. All right, thank you, Counsel.
All right, we're back.
Excuse me, Counsel. Counsel. Mr. Neufeld.
Ms. Mazzola, does the LAPD SID Bureau have a probationary period for new employees?
Yes, they do.
Excuse me?
Yes, they do.
And how long does it last?
Probation is 6 months.
And on June 13th, were you still on probation?
Yes,
So you were a probationary employee as of the time that you did the collection in this case. Is that correct?
that's correct.
It wouldn't be fair to say, ma'am, that as of June 13th, 1994, that one would classify you as a crime scene trainee.
You've been on the job for like 4.5 months. You're a freaking trainee.
In crime scene techniques, no. In the discretionary area, yes.
Ma'am,
He says wearily.
at the hearing on August 23rd, were you asked these questions and did you give these answers?
Overruled.
Yeah, she and Fung are like birds of a feather.
Question.
Well, they work together.
And when did you commence your training in crime scene collection? Answer, exact date, I'm not sure. Question, well, the approximate date. Answer, approximately a month after I began working at the lab. Question.
I was working in
That
the
would be
lab
sometime around the
late one
beginning of
night.
March 1994.
Then my eyes
Answer,
beheld
sometime
an
in
eerie
February,
sight.
I believe. Question. And what did that training
Halloween's just
entail?
around the corner.
Answer. I went out to the
Oh, God, I
crime
don't know
scenes
what I'm
with more
gonna do.
experienced criminalists
Her
and
costume.
assisted them and also learned the different techniques that they employ. Question. And I take it currently, as of right now, today, you are still a trainee in crime scene collection? Is that correct? Answer. I would go out with a criminalist 3 to a crime scene. So yes, I guess you would classify me as a crime scene trainee. Question. And how long will that status continue before you are no longer a trainee? Answer, I believe it is for 1 year. Will you ask those questions and did you give those,
Give those
answers
answers.
on August 23rd at that hearing?
Yes,
So are you being a tard now? Yes.
I mean, that's not something we
When you
need
gave
to
that testimony
debate.
on August 23rd, you were testifying truthfully. Is that correct?
Yes,
And
that's
you're testifying accurately. Is that right?
to my best of recollection.
And would you agree that prior to your joining the LAPD, you had absolutely no prior experience with crime scene processing? Is that right?
Well, maybe to direct
Oh,
That's correct.
Hmm?
That is correct.
And when you joined the LAPD in January of 1994, you were given a full-time assignment to a particular unit. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it is the purpose of LAPD to assign you to a particular unit so you can develop your skills in that area. Is that right?
So we could learn their methods, yes.
And would it be fair to say that the SID criminalists have many different units and many different disciplines?
That's correct.
And one of these disciplines
Bobby
would be,
Boris
I think,
Pickett and the
what you referred
Crypt
to
Kicker
as
5.
toxicology. Is that
Absolutely.
right?
That's right.
And another subspecialty would be serology. Is that right?
That's right.
Question documents might be a third.
That is not staffed by criminalists.
How about trace evidence?
Yes, trace
All
evidence.
right. And then there's another unit, which is
Feisty
called
one
crime
she
scene
is.
processing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you weren't assigned to crime scene processing when you joined the LAPD in January of 1994. Isn't that right?
I believe, is that the field unit you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about.
No, I was not assigned to the field unit.
You were assigned to toxicology.
That is correct.
But there are other people at SID who are assigned full-time to processing crime scenes. Isn't that correct?
They take their turns on rotation.
Well, other than the people who take their turns on rotation, isn't it true that there are at least two people who are full-time processing crime scenes as part of the field unit?
I don't recall that. I'm not positive if that's true or not.
You don't know one way or the other?
No.
You look so bored.
And you also mentioned, ma'am,
Are we boring you, Mr.
that
Simpson?
that you're a member of the California Association of Criminalists.
Kind of don't
That's
blame him,
correct.
honestly.
And have you ever taken any courses from the California Criminalistics Institute?
Yes.
But the courses you took were not in crime scene processing, were they?
No.
You haven't taken any courses in crime scene processing outside the LAPD, have you?
Not yet, no.
Now, you mentioned also on direct examination that you attended this thing called the Mini Academy. Is
Yes.
that right?
Correct.
And that's offered by the Los Angeles Police Department
Right, SID.
when you joined.
That's
In
right.
January
Better than
of
an STD, I
1994.
guess.
Now, it's not really an academy in the formal sense of the word, is it, ma'am?
It is training, lectures, and hands-on training.
Well, you familiar with the Los Angeles Police Department Police Academy?
A little bit familiar with it.
Well, they have their own building, don't they?
Yes.
Okay. You don't have any separate building for your
No.
instruction, do you?
No.
What are you
In
giggling
fact,
at?
what you're talking about, this mini academy, is really employees
Yeah,
of the
sure, with the
SID getting
class.
together once a week to hear lectures. Isn't that right, on various topics?
No.
Well, doesn't it meet every Thursday or something like that?
It is more of a classroom type situation,
And how often does it meet?
once a week.
And there's no textbook assigned to read, is that correct?
That's correct.
And there are no books that are actually distributed to the people who attend this mini academy, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
In fact, this mini academy is given in the same room that houses your kitchen, your cafeteria, isn't that right? Isn't that it?
Sometimes it is.
Now,
Yes.
have you heard of the California Association of Criminalists Certificate of Professional Competency?
I have not heard of that, no.
Well, have you heard of the American Board of Criminalists Certificate of Professional Competency?
I don't believe so, no.
Have you heard of any organization that gives you training and awards for the shit you do?
No.
Did they just pluck you out of an eagle's nest and put you to work?
And put other eagles in your hair?
In the morning of June 13th, you received a phone call because you were the next in rotation. Is that right, Ms. Mazzola?
I was on call, yes.
And whenever there is a major crime scene, such as this one, is it SID's goal to have two criminalists work the scene? Is that their goal?
I am not sure what their goal is. All I know is I was on call. And I was assigned with the Crim 3.
And you said that the rotation picks a different criminalist each week.
You were on call for either a week or the weekend.
And you said that other than yourself, you're not sure whether there are two full-time criminalists who were assigned to the field unit to handle crime scene processing?
During the day is when the field unit takes the calls. The criminalists on rotation are assigned to cover the nights and the weekends.
All right. But during the day, even back in June of 1994, there was a special unit and it was staffed by two full-time criminalists, correct? To handle crime scene processing.
Sustained.
Well, ma'am, are you aware that the members of the crime scene unit, full-time members of the crime scene unit who handle the calls on weekdays are all people who have a lot more experience than you have? Subject to connection, Your Honor.
You know that?
They do have more experience, yes.
And are you aware that SID often sends out two experienced criminalists to major homicide crime scenes?
Sustained.
The morning of June 13th, 1994, who telephoned you at home?
Detective Headquarters Division.
And who was the person who actually called you?
I don't remember his name exactly. He was from DHD.
And what did that person tell you?
It's to explain subsequent conduct, I take it.
Yes.
What were you told?
He said that we had a scene. It was a 187, and he gave me the address.
What does 187 stand for?
Homicide.
And did he tell you it was a double homicide?
I believe so, yes.
And on that phone call, did he mention that Mr. Simpson was a possible suspect?
No, no names are given.
No names at all?
No names.
Did he say anything at all, other than it was a crime scene involving a double homicide?
Sustained.
Your Honor, it has to do with the next action she's going to take.
Sustained. Proceed.
Was any form filled out in the truck on the way to Rockingham?
Yes.
By the way, before you got to Rockingham, in fact, when you got to SID, did you learn any more information about this crime scene?
No.
All you knew at that point was a crime scene involving a double homicide, nothing more.
Nothing more.
And what document did you fill out in the truck on the way to Rockingham?
Start filling out the front of the field notes.
Show you what's been previously marked as Defense Exhibit Number 1107.
Wait, she actually filled something out? Really? I'm kind of surprised.
Is that the document you filled out?
Yes.
And on that document, that's where you said that under officer in charge, you put in your name. Is that correct?
Yes.
And of course, you did this before you arrived at Rockingham, right?
That's correct.
But you did it after you had conversations with Mr. Fung, is that correct?
That's correct.
So just so I understand it, before you arrived at Rockingham, it was your understanding that you were going to be the officer in charge at a double homicide, is that correct?
My name is under officer in charge because I was a criminalist on call at the time.
Ma'am,
just like that.
didn't you say that
Ma'am.
a decision was made after you got to Rockingham that you would no longer be the officer in charge? Is that correct? Didn't you testify to that on direct examination?
Yes.
Well, if a decision was made after you got to Rockingham that you would no longer be the officer in charge, then isn't it correct that before you got to Rockingham, you were considered the officer in charge? Isn't that right?
Not really, no.
Not really. It's kind of a yes or no question.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They both did that.
Not really.
Fung did that too. Fung was like, not really, about something that was very yes or no.
Ma'am.
Ma'am.
So who the shit is in
OIC
charge?
stands for officer in charge,
question.
right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Doesn't say next on rotation, does it?
I'd like to know.
That's correct.
Doesn't say next
zing.
on call, does it?
That's correct.
It says who's the officer in charge, and then there's another line that says the name of the assistant,
That's correct.
and that's who's going to assist the officer in charge.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
You didn't like cross out OIC when you were in the van and write in not
Hey,
really.
what's up,
or something like
Danielle?
that before you put in your name.
Welcome, Moddy Mod. Now that's small D, so that's big Daniel.
When you wrote in your name
tall
next to
Daniel.
OIC, you knew that it
not
meant
the
officer in
big
charge, correct?
Big D
Correct.
Daniel, which is
And you were identifying yourself as the
shorter
officer in
Daniel.
charge on a double homicide. Is that correct?
Sustained. Counsel,
That's-
let's move on.
Danielle who came to Houston, correct?
No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
other Daniel.
Well, I love both Danielles. They're both wonderful.
See, that's what I mean. Like ironically, the small D, the lowercase D, is the tall one, and the large case D Danielle is the shorter.
When you arrived at
It's a little
Rockingham,
funny.
the first thing that happened is that the detectives briefed you on the situation.
They briefed Mr. Fung.
Were you present for that briefing?
I was present, yes.
Well, you arrived in your truck, you got out, and where was the first place that you went to?
Chick-fil-A.
Into the front courtyard area.
With Mr. Fung, right?
Right.
And that's
There's
where
no
you encountered
Chick-fil-A
the
in
detectives.
Brentwood.
Correct.
I don't
You
think
said
there,
the
I don't
front
think there was one in the
courtyard, immediately
90s.
in front of
Might have
Mr.
had a
Simpson's
kookaroo.
front door,
On the driveway area in that vicinity.
Probably a
and
kookaroo.
approximately, the driveway area in front of his front door, though,
Yes.
in the vicinity of where you collected item number 7,
Yes.
and that's where the discussion was held with the detectives.
Yes.
And approximately how long did that discussion last?
I have no idea.
Well, at this point in time, you had only filled out one form, correct? The cover sheet of the crime scene investigation unit, isn't that right?
Yes.
And now, during these several minutes, you're having a discussion, or you are listening to a discussion between Dennis Fung and the detectives at the scene. Is that right?
That's right.
And how many detectives are there approximately?
I honestly can't recall how many.
Or was it just one detective, or were there more than one?
It was more than one.
Was there more than 2?
I believe so.
And at that point, those detectives gave you an idea of what items they wanted you to collect in that discussion during those 5 minutes?
They told Mr. Fung what they were interested in, and he came back and told me.
You said they told Mr. Fung, and then he came back and told you. You mean you didn't actually get into this little discussion that Fung was having with the detectives?
No.
You didn't hear it?
Overruled.
Excuse me, would you please repeat the question?
Is the reason that you did not participate in that initial discussion with detectives is because you and he already made a decision that he would in fact be the officer in charge now instead of you?
I'm the officer in charge now.
That, and he seemed
Look at
to
me.
Look at me.
Look at me.
communicate more with the detectives. I was
Look at
standing
me,
out
sure.
in the background,
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
sort of listening, but he was the one that was doing the talking with the
He was more
detectives.
assertive with the detectives than you were.
Right.
And you said in addition to that, at the beginning of this discussion, he informed you of his decision that he would now be the officer in charge instead of you?
Yes.
That happened right at the beginning of that discussion.
More or less, yes.
Okay. And how long did you say that discussion lasted with the other detectives?
I have no idea.
Well, would it be more than a half hour or less than a half hour?
Less than a half hour, but beyond that, I have no idea.
After this discussion, and after Dennis Fung told you that he was going to be the officer in charge, you then went over and looked at certain items of evidence?
Yes.
And which was the first item that you then looked at?
The Bronco.
And is that the first time you were told about the Bronco?
Yes.
And is it at that moment that you then filled out the crime scene investigation sheet for the Bronco?
Yes.
I thought it was.
Oh, courtroom giggles. We don't know what happened.
That's why I have clocks all over the courtroom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. However, I'm going to ask you to step back into the jury room briefly before we recess as far as the jury is concerned. And Ms. Mazzola, you may step down. You're ordered to return tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Don't discuss your testimony with anybody except for the lawyers, please. All right? Thank you very much.
Okay, so that's the end of this particular week. But what are we doing here? Stop. But what happened was there was what he was going back and talking to the jurors about was there was a huge uprising amongst the jury because I guess there was 3 bailiffs that the jury really liked. And for some reason, I can't remember why, but they were getting rid of or reassigning those bailiffs.
Right.
And the jury literally protested. The jury literally shut down and just refused to do anything until they reinstated these 3 bailiffs. And it took a while, a couple of days, if I recall correctly.
Well, the jurors were
pissed.
sequestered for a really long time.
Yeah.
They couldn't watch TV. They couldn't look at any kind of news articles. They were, shut away in this hotel. And they
For
were
9
getting
months.
really, really stir crazy. I mean, they couldn't go out to certain places. Like they had to all be sort of, chaperoned by these particular bailiffs, I guess. And I know they had problems with they'd take them to Target instead of taking them to Ross. And, the black jurors thought that was, prejudicial. There were lots of problems. And I just think at a certain point, it became really overwhelming for them to be sequestered for so long. And I don't blame them. I mean, you said it was 9 months. I heard 11 months, but I trust your timeline.
The entire trial, from beginning, but the jury was only sat for 9 months.
Right.
All the preliminary stuff, all the jury selection, et cetera, that the whole process was 11 months, but the actual time the jury was sequestered, it was 265 days, 269 days, something like that.
I mean, can you imagine not being able to work and being away from your family and, not being away from your friends? I mean, it must have been, I can't imagine what that experience was like. And, they all took it really seriously. And there were still some people. Oh God. Did any of them work on a monkey farm?
Yeah.
That was the most interesting tidbit. I didn't know that there were monkey farms in South Carolina about the Murdaugh case.
Apparently there is.
But
So anyway.
I can't imagine going, not being able to see people and being shut away for that long. That must have been brutal.
Yeah, and like I said, they literally revolted and refused to do anything, cooperate, participate until they brought these bailiffs back, and they did. It took a while to work it out, but they did. It was this great uprising in the trial. Let's see, I can't remember the exact. Let me just really quickly here. OJ, jury, bailiff, protest. Yes, okay. In an extraordinary expression of discontent that brought the trial of OJ Simpson to a halt Friday, recalcitrant jurors boycotted the session because they were angry about the judge's decision to request the transfer of 3 sheriff's deputies assigned to monitor the panel. According to a spokesman from the LA County Sheriff's Department, 13 of the jurors refused to come to court Friday morning, the 101st day of their sequestration. They asked Superior Court Judge Lance Ito to visit them at their hotel so that he explained their anger, which a sheriff's deputy said was so fierce that some of the panelists were crying in the van as they returned to court Thursday evening. But Ito refused. Instead, the 18 jurors and alternates were summoned to the courthouse, where 13 of them arrived wearing black or dark clothing in an apparent gesture of protest against the transfer of the deputies. Once at the courthouse, a standoff ensued, with the jurors refusing to work and the judge debating how to respond to their work stoppage. After meeting with attorneys from both sides, Ito blinked, canceling testimony for the day, sending the trial into chaos and raising new fears that this jury will never reach a verdict. With the testimony of police criminalist ANDREA Mazzola on hold, Ito met individually with jurors who asked to speak with them. By the end of the morning session, the patient and conciliatory Ito had met with 7 jurors, some of whom sources said were emotional as they described their affection for the transferred deputies. They said their colleagues were then sent back to their hotel. The unusual sessions, which took place behind closed doors, were attended by attorneys for both sides and by a representative of the LA County Sheriff's Department. The meetings were expected to last at least into the first part of next week and caused Ito to cancel Monday's testimony as well.
Wow.
Legal analysts could recall no prior instance in which a jury successfully boycotted a court session, and they agreed that it posed mind-boggling problems for Ito, who must somehow regain the jury's confidence without ceding his own control of the proceedings. He'd better take 3 deep breaths and approach things cautiously, said Lori Levinson, a Loyola law school professor. You can threaten them all you want, but they have the power to decide whether this case has a verdict. As he left the courthouse, Simpson's lead trial lawyer, Johnny L. Cochran Jr., expressed amazement at the latest turn in this case. In 32 years of practice, he said, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
The prospect of a mistrial has haunted the Simpson case, but Friday's activity redoubled concern and raised questions as to who is in control of the Simpson trial, the judge or the jury. They have exercised the ultimate right, the right not to participate, shutting the process down, said Robert B. Hirschhorn, a Houston-based jury consultant. Searching to explain the problem confronting Ito, Hirschhorn said the analysts looked past the normal legal metaphors. He compared the latest developments to a marital dispute between lawyer Barry Levin, who called the group a formed community, and attorney Edie M.O. Fall described it as a juror revolt. And Myrna Rader, a Southwestern University law professor, likened the dispute to a family fight. This is like a huge family squabble, Rader said. It's almost as if someone needs to bring some parenting skills to this. And then it just goes like, they talk about the clothes they wore. This was a huge thing.
Well, the circumstances were so unusual. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that there was ever any other trial that compared to this one, especially with the sequestration and the effect that that has on people. It's kind of like an imprisonment. You know, they're not able to move about freely. They're not able to, you know, interact with people that they care about or see them. That, you know, all of their freedoms are limited, and it must have been very trying for them. You know, almost traumatic in a way. Not to be, you know, super victim blaming about things, but I mean, or, you know, like call them, but I mean, I can't imagine having to do that because they didn't think they were going to be there for that long. You know, they thought it was going to be like a couple months, like a nice little vacation. They get to stay at this hotel, but it didn't turn out to be that way. So I can understand their anger.
Well, earlier in the week on Tuesday and Wednesday, Ito interviewed jurors individually to follow up on comments by an excused panelist, Jeanette Harris, who said the panel was racially divided and who accused sheriff's deputies of promoting these problems. Ito has yet to release transcripts from those sessions, but sources said that little that was discussed gave any hint that jurors would react so strongly to the removal of the deputies. Sources said recent interviews showed that most of the jurors were eager to continue. The shit was that?
Ghost.
There was a really weird fucking noise in my house.
I heard that. It sounded like a ghost.
No, seriously, what the fuck was that?
I don't know, but should we turn this into the unexplained? Should we get Flux on here?
I guess that just gave me like wild goosebumps. Holy crap! The shit
You have
was
a
that?
ghost, Jeff. You have a freaking ghost in your
do.
apartment.
Oh, I know I do, but I've never heard audio. That was weird.
It was like a
wow.
We have to play that back again some later.
Yeah, I've got to I'll make a note of the timestamp. It was like, well, say like 1:35. What the shit was that? That was weird. It sounded like a shriek from this end.
Weird, really creepy.
That was weird. I thought it was on your end, but then I realized it wasn't. That was
Wait, hold on. Could have sworn I heard something else.
No, nothing going on over here. Anywho, that was just weird.
Creepy.
All right. Yeah, weird. Anywho, let's get back to this weird story. That gave me goosebumps. Ooh.
Wait, is my microphone crackling?
Just, I mean, a teeny tiny bit. I didn't notice until you just said that.
Somebody
I didn't notice
mentioned
until you said it.
Damn it.
Oh, you big
Somebody mentioned it.
sensitives.
Well, I'd like to know so that I can adjust my technology. Sorry about that, guys. I thought that problem was over.
Sources said recent interviews showed that most of the jurors were eager to continue their service with the panel and were determined to stay with the trial to its conclusion. Several jurors, however, expressed concern about these sheriff's deputies. One of those who voiced unhappiness with the conduct of the deputies was a 25-year-old flight attendant. During a meeting with Ito and attorneys Thursday afternoon, the juror, a black woman, asked to be excused from the panel, saying, "I can't take it anymore." Although that prompted media outlets to speculate that the jury might soon lose another member, sources told the Times on Thursday that her concerns were alleviated by the replacement of the deputies. In fact, she was among those who brightly colored clothing Friday suggested a lack of sympathy with the protesters. One of those who dressed in black, however, has been the subject of sharp criticism from Harris, whose allegations of improprieties by the sheriff's deputies sparked the recent inquiry by Ito. According to Harris, that juror, a 38-year-old white woman, intentionally stepped on one of the jurors' feet and hit another in the head. Harris said, "Those actions were intentional. An assessment with which not all the other jurors agreed," according to sources. In conducting his investigation earlier this week, Ito interviewed all 18 members of the jury panel, and sources said that he planned to interview the deputies as well on Friday. But when the flight attendant came to Ito on Thursday and asked to be removed immediately, sources say the judge decided he needed to act to preserve the panel. The judge then called Sheriff Sherman Block and asked that the deputies, 2 men and 1 woman, be transferred. Block reluctantly agreed to carry out the task. According to sources, Ito decided to request the transfer of the deputies to reassure those jurors who rightly or wrongly took issue with the deputies' handling of the panel. Through his court spokeswoman, Ito said Thursday that he had not found misconduct on the part of any deputies or jurors. However, his actions immediately prompted a stinging dissent from Block, who called a news conference Thursday to denounce the judge and who publicly chastised him again Friday after the turmoil engulfed the panel in the wake of the deputies' removal. "I hate to say I told you so," Block gloated, "but I said that Judge Ito acted precipitously." Block also focused his criticism on the young flight attendant whose Thursday afternoon appeal to the judge apparently was the protest that finally convinced him to request the deputies' removals. "She was crying, emotional, and distraught. I wonder how effective of a juror she could be." Despite Block's defense of his deputies, the flap in the Simpson case is not the first time it performs. The deputies like 2 years ago. We don't care about 2 years ago. And so, I mean, this thing was seriously taken, and it derailed the trial for a good 2.5 days.
Yeah, they spent a whole episode on this during the People versus OJ Simpson.
Oh, did they?
It was really good. It was really well done, and it was kind of fascinating to watch because they did a lot of research and they really got a lot of the elements right. There were a lot of little details. There was significant, you know how I am about fact checking. It wasn't sensationalized. It was, it was kind of true to life, and so they spent a whole episode on that. And I know there was an issue about the black jurors being mad because they wanted to take the new deputies, I think, or the new bailiffs wanted to take them to Target, and they thought that it was discriminatory racially because black people prefer Ross. It was a whole thing, And
They should have just pronounced it Target.
Well, Oprah Winfrey hadn't done that yet. It was a little, behind its time. So, but that was the racial issue. They thought that they were being discriminatory because they took them to Target. I swear, you can look it up. It's a whole thing. What's your mug?
That's my That's my Geralt mug.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. I saw that in Houston. I
There we go.
remember that.
Yes.
That's a really good one.
Well, it's Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri. It's like a triple mug. That's what I've been drinking my bourbon cokes out of. I was just using it to focus. The autofocus went wonky.
I really want to listen to the playback on whatever that weird noise was. I was like, that was so creepy.
I'll check that out after we finish here. But
yeah.
D what member for 11 months says I'm the big D. No, capital letters. That's what we're talking about. Duncan Idaho for $2 super chat, ma'am. And with a $5 super chat, also Duncan Idaho, the jury. Look at me. I am the court now. That's essentially what happened. It's basically literally what happened. And Tanny Simmons with a $5. Tanny, what's up? It's been a minute. Legal Vices, I'm on the Murdoch stream from yesterday. I just have to let you know I'm crying laughing at the rhythm of the rhythm of the streaks. Good job, bud.
Oh, I didn't see that part. I only watched. I still have to go back and watch the other part that I missed.
Yeah,
but you and Megan are hilarious together. I love Megan.
We had fun. That was fun. And Duncan Idaho stepping it up. He went from $2 to $5 to $10. I'm waiting for the $20 super chat next. Just kidding. Sort of. Can you talk about how a jury can be sequestered for a year? Yeah, 9 months. Like I said, it's like the longest sequestration in the history of sequestrations. Are they still compensated only a few dollars a day? Yup. And they can't resign? Well, you can make, like we just read, you can make an ass of yourself until they boot you off. So their only recourse would be to basically strike. Yeah.
I mean, how did I'm just wondering about all of their employers. How did their employers, cope with the loss of their employees? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
It was a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they had coordinated activities and stuff, and it'll never happen again.
No.
I mean, and Danielle, member for 7 months, just being a member for 7 months. Thank you so much, Danielle, super mod. We love you. And Unhung Hero with a $5 super chat. Regarding the poll, there's also a guy called Glenn Rogers that is/was considered a suspect. Was he the mafia guy?
I don't know. I don't care.
There's so many people they bring up. Was that the one like Eric Hunley was talking about a while ago? I can't remember.
Maybe. I never paid attention. I don't really believe in alternate theories, so.
There's too much going on here. Well, speaking of the poll, let's take a look. What have I done? What have I done here?
What have you done, Jeff?
I don't know.
Can everybody tell how sleepy I am? I'm trying not to fall asleep on stream. I'm trying to drink my tea.
Wake up.
All
right.
I was
Like
slapping
and
myself in the face
subscribe
earlier.
and vote. We currently have 205 people. That's literally has to be an OJ Simpson record. 205 people watching this thing. And 144 likes. All right, you other 50 that haven't done your job, get over there and do that. Slap that like button and subscribe. And if you have subscribed, please make sure you are. And then take our poll. Who was the real killer? So far, 13% of you say it was OJ's son. 19% of you say some random guys in knit caps and really expensive Bruno Maglio gloves. And 22% say some guy on a Florida golf course where OJ is still searching for the real killers. And 46% of you say OJ, duh.
And that's how I voted.
Yes. Strong opinions from the peanut gallery.
Yes.
All right, sorry, I'm chewing on my stash here. The wind is blowing it into my mouth. I gotta curl it up here.
You have wind in your place? Why?
Yeah, it's blowing through. It's blowing through my house. It's so awesome. The weather it dropped 10 degrees like 2 days ago. It's so nice.
Oh God, I'm so looking forward to that. I'm so sick of summer. Summer is bullshit.
Yeah, just like 2 days ago, it just went, oh, you can open your windows now.
Oh, I love that. I'm looking forward to that.
It's so lovely in here. It's just great. So all the windows in the house are open. There's fresh breezes, like ocean breeze blowing through. I can smell the ocean, and it's so great. And ghosts and shit. All right, well.
Is that it? Are we done for the day?
No. Hell no.
No,
not yet. We've got some more time. Adam,
I'm not eager to leave if that's what you're thinking. I'm very happy to
super
stay.
chat. $2 super chat from Adam. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Well, we are going to start the next week. So now all of this this problem has been resolved. The jurors have stopped their protest. They're coming back to do their job.
They apparently settled their differences. Took him to Ross, maybe.
Dear. All right, let's go.
Wait, what? Jeff? I guess this is my stream now. Where did he go? Can we sequester Chandler until the end of the stream?
And by let's go, that's exactly not what I meant.
What does that mean? Tempest Veritas.
That was
You want me to leave?
That was the thumb. That was the thumb button I'm not supposed to click. I really, really need to spend 30 seconds and disable that button.
Yeah, I've done that before. I did that my first stream.
Think about it. Yeah, I've got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons on this mouse and a wheel. And like 2 of them are like they're the high power gaming things. So I've got they're like the insta flicky things for the thumb. And I just keep forgetting. I never think about disabling them until
I got to be the Lorax for like 5 seconds. That was really fun.
You did.
I was ready. I would have taken over. I would have pulled up the feed and gone into it.
Now I'm going to try to bring this up without clicking that button I'm not supposed to click. And let's go.
All right, David McNair, let's have the jurors, please. Yes,
Look at me. I am the Lorax now.
So this was a weekend and Monday and Tuesday, I believe.
Does it have to do with Miss Mazzola?
No, it does. No,
All right, then let's.
I have something that does have to do with Ms. Mazzola. I will take it.
Come back, Chandler.
60 seconds, Mr. Cochran.
I'm just getting more tea, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Your Honor. Your Honor, at the kidding, Your Honor. At the end of the day yesterday, and I brought this matter to your attention. I thought I should put it on the record. After our hearings in chambers, which were confidential hearings, Mr. Shapiro and I came out, and we were out in the courtroom. We were just about to leave, and I had to go back into the hallway there, and something very disturbing occurred as far as I was concerned. As the court is aware, the commander, Holland, I guess his name is, of the Sheriff's Department, had said in all the interviews. And I then saw the district attorneys, the 2 district attorneys, going into the jury room to have a private meeting with the sheriff's commander.
Oh,
now,
you can't do
that's been
that.
our concern from the very beginning, that this man who's over all the sheriffs who sit with our jurors would impart special information to the DA's office. I don't know if
How close do you live to Busan? I live in Busan.
To the court, my concern right yesterday afternoon when this meeting was going on.
I live 20 minutes from the train station.
But I think that it's certainly from an appearance standpoint, it's absolutely outrageous to have something like that happen, and it's unfortunate. And I wanted to document it on the record. I did bring it to court's attention right away, and the meeting, I don't know how long the meeting went on, but it did in fact take place, and I think it's entirely inappropriate for the district attorneys to meet with the representative from the Sheriff's Department who are sitting with our jury, and it only fans the flames, and I want to indicate that.
And Johnny Cochran is absolutely correct.
Mr. Newfield.
You want to have Ms. Mazzola step out for 1 second, please?
Certainly. Ms. Mazzola.
Adam in the Air Force, because that's the only reason a foreigner would live in Osan.
Mr. Newfield.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, on January 20th, you issued an order.
Oh, yeah. I live somewhere in a city of 5 million people.
All
Fact
find
witnesses
me in this case to refrain from watching any television or listening to any radio coverage about the trial and testimony having to do with that in any way may pertain to the subject matter of their own testimony. As you may recall, when Ms. Mazzola testified on Thursday, she acknowledged that she had been listening to radio coverage of the case and testimony. And in fact, there was a radio even in the toxicology laboratory that was broadcasting the trial live. She also mentioned that there are other radios all over the SID laboratory that are covering the trial live. In fact, there's a television.
This is correct. She testified to this on our time, I believe, 2 episodes ago, where she was saying literally just there were radios everywhere and they were all tuned to this.
Vision in the cafeteria doing that as well.
I heard the testimony.
And, you know, Your Honor, 2 things. One is I realize that your order creates an exception for experts. I don't believe that Ms. Mazzola is an expert. First of all, she's a criminalist, one. I don't believe she would meet the criteria for an expert as you envisioned it when you issued this order. Secondly, and more importantly, Your Honor, to the extent that she does give opinion testimony, as does, for instance, Detectives Lang and Van Adder as well, can give opinion testimony. They are first and foremost fact witnesses in this case, as opposed to the classic example of an expert, which I'm sure the court had in mind. Your Honor, I think it's one thing if a neighbor, for instance, who testifies, who was walking...
What are you asking for?
I'm asking for an instruction, Your Honor, to this jury that they should take into consideration the fact that apparently the prosecutors failed to instruct these witnesses at SID not to listen to the coverage of the trial. I'm also worried in a broader sense that every single witness, they have about 6 or 7 people from SID who are going to be testifying who are fact witnesses. And apparently, the trial is being covered, live as we speak throughout the SID laboratory, and all the people are listening to it on a regular basis who will be coming into court and testifying. I think that clearly, violates both the letter and the spirit of your ruling. I think it's completely different, Your Honor, if a civilian witness who comes in here happened to watch something on the television, listen to it on the radio. But when you have people who are actually under the control, or at least there's some possible direct control here by the district attorney's office of the Los Angeles Police Department, and those people have not been admonished, or they've been admonished and ignored the admonition.
Have you drafted an instruction to the jury?
No, but I can do so during the luncheon break, Your Honor.
Mr. Goldberg?
Your Honor, as I recall the court's order, and I read it, it did exempt expert witnesses. And the witnesses that we are calling are all expert witnesses. And we don't have a sliding scale for expertise where somehow people with PhDs are treated differently than people with bachelor's degrees. These are expert witnesses who are trained in crime scene processing. Other SID witnesses are expert witnesses who are trained in analysis and are going to be testifying as expert witnesses.
We should be bigger.
If the court will recall the cross-examination on Mr. Fung, there are several things that I bring up. Number one, he was given a lengthy series of hypothetical questions. We don't allow those questions for anyone other than an expert witness. He was cross-examined about treatises that he's read.
The issue is Ms. Mazzola, not Mr. Fung.
Well, he just lumped.
Focus your attention on Ms. Mazzola.
Okay, but Your Honor, I don't distinguish between the two, and that's my point. I don't say that we have a sliding scale of expertise. She has gone to school. She has graduated. She has read textbooks on crime scene processing. She has been trained in crime scene processing. She is going to be asked to render certain opinions about what she did and the effects that it had, and so on. And what we are trying to decide is whether prospectively the prosecution had a duty to misinterpret the court's plain order that exempted expert witnesses and reinterpret.
A duty to misinterpret?
Because I mean, it seems like there's a rule of statutory construction that unless there's some ambiguity in the language, you interpret it the way it's written, and that is what I did. But I just like to try to look at this prospectively from the prosecution standpoint. What has happened with our SID witnesses? They've been asked about things that they did not witness. Mr. Fung was examined extensively about a blanket that was placed upon Nicole's body that occurred before he arrived at the crime scene. He was questioned about the movement of objects that occurred before he arrived at the crime scene. He was questioned about whether the location had been cleared for footprints before he arrived at the crime scene.
You have to assume that since I was here, I was probably listening to the testimony.
I know, but I'm just trying to highlight the significant points of it. And they were asked about coroner's activity. One of the ways that you can question a expert witness is by giving them a hypothetical. And another way, and it is a proper way, is
attach
to
electrodes
ask the witness,
to their
have
private
you viewed
parts.
the testimony? Have you listened to the testimony? And based upon what you have heard, what opinions did you render?
Yeah.
That is an appropriate way of questioning an expert witness.
What is going on with his hair?
Is the hypothetical, but it is used. And if our witnesses are going to be questioned as they have about things that they didn't witness, didn't hear, it would be proper, perhaps even advisable, if we had instructed them, not only do I not want you to avoid this, but I want you to sit down and listen to every single witness who testified about anything regarding crime scene processing, because you are going to be questioned about it. you are going to be asked to render opinions about it and conclusions about it. So you should look at the crime scene photographs, videotapes. You should listen to all of the testimony, because you are being held accountable in the cross-examination for all of that material. And as an expert witness, you can be held accountable for it. And there is no basis upon which to distinguish between any of our scientists at SID. And I think that kind of instruction would be entirely improper. But what I would ask the court to do, and I was thinking about this before Mr. Neufeld raised it, is to instruct the jury, since they don't know, that the court did issue an order that exempted expert witnesses. I was thinking the exact opposite of what Mr. Neufeld is, because they have been implying through their questioning.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
That there is something improper about what has happened here. And what immediately occurred to me is, well, wait a minute. The jury should know that there is an order that exempts expert witnesses, and we would be asking for an instruction to that effect.
Have you drafted any such instruction?
No, I haven't, Your Honor.
Shut up.
I will draft an instruction. And what I would propose to do probably would be simply to draft an instruction that's along the lines of the language that the court used in its order, that says that we apply a different rule towards expert witnesses. And here was my order that I gave out to the prosecution and to the defense.
All right. Thank you, counsel.
Thank you.
What prompted this
All
hissy
right.
fit?
The court will decline at this time to instruct the jury regarding this issue. The court's order
Everything that guy just says is bullshit. Thank you.
regarding expert witnesses does cover anybody from the Scientific Investigation Division. It's not reasonable to expect a court to go witness by witness as to whether or not they're an expert given this particular category of witnesses. Secondly, the defense has the right to cross-examine as to what exposure Ms. Mazzola has had, and that is fair game for cross-examination. All right, let's have the jurors, please. Let's have Ms. Mazzola. Would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, let the record reflect that we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Andrea Mazzola is on the witness stand, and she is undergoing cross-examination by Mr. Neufeld. Good morning, Ms. Mazzola.
Okay.
What?
I have a question.
What? What's going on? What?
Is that the same suit that Talking Heads frontman David Byrne wore in the burning down the house video?
It might be.
Good morning. You are
It
reminded
looks
that
like
you are
it.
still under oath. Mr. Neufeld, you may continue.
Morning, Mr. Zola.
Good morning.
Just so
Morning, ladies and
masculine. My God.
Ms. Mazzola, since we last saw each other on Thursday afternoon, have you had any prep sessions with the prosecutors since you left court that afternoon?
I want to see her stand up wearing it. I really want to know. Wait, I have to look it up now.
Talked with them a little bit, yes.
Well, have you met with them at their offices?
Yes.
Okay. Did you meet with them on Thursday after court?
No.
No,
Meet with
his
them on
suit was
Friday?
white in the video.
No.
You with them
Not
on
silver.
Saturday?
No.
But same
Sunday?
basic principle.
No.
Yesterday?
Same shape.
No.
Okay. When did you meet with them, this morning?
Yes, this morning.
This was the first time?
That's the most 90s suit pants
I
thing
believe
ever.
so, yes.
Talked to them on the telephone over the during the break?
Shoulder pads.
During the 4-day break? About this case?
I think I did.
You think you did?
I think I did, yes.
You're not sure?
I don't remember.
You don't remember speaking to prosecutors on the phone about this case during the last 4 days? One or the other?
It might have just been to tell me when to show up to court. I don't remember.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, when we were last in court on Thursday afternoon, you testified, I believe, that only after you arrived at Rockingham in the early morning hours and you listened to a discussion that Dennis Fung was having with the detectives, that Dennis Fung told you that given the nature of the case, that he and not you would be the officer in charge. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And after he told you that he would become the officer in charge, the detectives then told you about the Ford Bronco for the first time. Is that right?
I believe so.
And the detectives took you and Fung over to see the Bronco. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's when they took you over to see the Bronco that you first began to fill out the vehicle search checklist. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
And notwithstanding, Ms. Mazzola, yours and Dennis Fung's testimony that upon arrival at Rockingham, that he announced that he would be the officer in charge, that on the vehicle search checklist, which you began to fill out, I'm sorry, withdrawn. Isn't it true, Ms. Mazzola, therefore, that even though you had been informed in advance of filling out the vehicle search checklist that he would be the officer in charge, that you nonetheless put yourself down as the officer in charge on that vehicle search checklist?
That's correct.
Well, as long as we're going to pause here, we should pause for something important. This witness looks like Dana Carvey's church lady.
Who was it? Who could it possibly be? Was it, oh, I don't know. Satan?
And by the way, that report, the vehicle search checklist, where you put yourself down as the officer in charge, that was done in pencil, was it not?
Yes.
And I believe that the reason that these field reports are filled out in pencil is so that if there are errors or omissions or mistakes, it can be.
Mr. Neufeld, deputies, there are people in the back row who are conversing next to the photographers. Would you eject them from the courtroom, please? 2 individuals next to the photographers.
Do you want me to sit for a second?
No, go ahead. Proceed.
In fact, Ms. Mazzola, there are erasures in the original field notes, aren't there?
And there could be, yes.
Well, have you looked at the original field notes in this case at any time since June 13th?
Sigh.
I think I had once or twice.
Do you have the originals with you?
Mrs. Robertson?
I think it's 1107.
Ms. Mazzola, didn't you testify, in fact, on direct
Late
examination that there were certain erasures on the field notes for the collection of items 18, 17, and 19? Didn't you just testify to that on Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. So.
Okay.
It was not unexpected for you and Dennis Fung to make erasures to correct errors in the notes. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yet, ma'am, no one erased your name as the OIC, the officer in charge on the vehicle search checklist. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
You continue to have that title throughout.
Title.
Well, that your title on that report was never changed. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
And that.
So she just testified that Fung was the officer in charge, but yet she stated as the officer in charge on the records. This is so messed up. This whole thing is so messed up.
It's how do you refer to something like this?
A clusterfuck. You cannot unfuck a clusterfuck.
Right. There's more. There's like a phrase for this, but I can't think of it at the moment. But it's true. You can't unfuck a clusterfuck.
Ineptitude, is that the phrase you're looking for?
No, it's like a something outfit, like a.
A stupid what? A stupid outfit?
No, anyway, never mind. It's a total joke. The whole operation is what I'm trying to say. Like just the entire
snafu?
The whole department. It's. LAPD. That's our boys in blue for you. What can I say?
Yeah, see, it's not really a foobar. This is more of a snafu than a foobar. Yes, I see. I think it's a snafu more than a foobar. And for those of you that wonder what the hell we're talking about, foobar is an acronym for fucked up beyond all recognition, and snafu is an acronym for situation normal all fucked up. So this is more of a situation normal all fucked up than
Do
a
people really not
fucked
know
up
that?
beyond all recognition.
Isn't that just like common knowledge?
we're not all native English speakers here.
No, that's a good point.
We have people
Sorry.
all over the planet watching us.
Well, that was very nice of you to elaborate.
I did.
That was
Shit
me
show
being
is the term
very-
you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely
Dumb-
like it's like a 3-ring shit show. Oh my god, it's terrible. I mean, just like the the aptitude of that company of people who are involved in the
Dumpster
criminology department. It's just too much. Yeah.
Well, and ironically, SOL for those of you in chat that don't know, that's shit out of luck. But ironically, there's an amazing pizza restaurant here in town. It's SOL Pizza, or stands for Slice of Life Pizza. The most amazing, authentic New York pizza you can get outside of Seoul, and it's fantastic. And it's just like right over there. So, but yeah, so you just have like a big sign SOL Pizza. But it's delish. All right, let's get on with it.
That sounds really good. Now I want pizza.
That report was filled out even after Dennis Fung told you that he was going to be the officer in charge. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Now,
Peter Neufeld is now speaking at
Ms.
1.25
Mazzola, is it
speed.
really the policy and practice of the Los Angeles Police Department SID unit to name a trainee the officer in charge on a murder case?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Then when they refer to you, ma'am, as the officer in charge, and you put your name down as the officer in charge on these field note reports, is that some kind of game of make-believe that the LAPD wants you to play?
Sustained.
Oh, slightly argumentative there, but great question.
Oh, I like it. He knew that would be sustained. He was
Ms.
arguing for the
Mazzola,
jury.
Isn't the real reason that you testified on direct examination that a decision had been made to name Fung the OIC after you
Fung
filled
the
out
OIC.
the cover sheet for Rockingham was because it was necessary for you to support Dennis Fung's testimony, minimizing your involvement in this case?
Sustained. Sustained on both counts.
Had the prosecutors, before you took the witness stand in this case, Ms. Mazzola, told you that it was important for you to back up Dennis Fung's failure to mention you in the grand jury?
No, they did not.
Okay. Now,
Liar.
prior to June 13th, you had personally collected bloodstains in only 2
I don't
crime
believe her.
scenes. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, yes.
And at both those 2 scenes, you were a trainee. Isn't that right?
I was a criminalist 1.
Oh,
Well, Ms.
Jesus.
Mazzola, you agreed, did you not, that you had testified on August 23rd that you were a trainee as of June 13th when you collected evidence in this case. Isn't that correct?
Overruled.
I was on probation as a criminalist 1.
Ms. Mazzola, didn't you also testify on August 23rd and acknowledge that on June 13th you were still a trainee?
Overruled. Overruled. Do you recall testifying to that, Ms. Mazzola?
I honestly don't recall.
All right, move on.
Come on, lady. Seriously?
And
Like,
Ms.
stop-
Mazzola, even at your first 2 crime scenes when you were on probation, the supervising criminalist didn't bother to stay with you the entire time. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
And even at your first 2 crime scenes when you were on probation, there were times when you collected bloodstains unassisted by a supervising criminalist.
That's correct.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, is it the policy and practice of the Los Angeles Police Department SID unit to deliberately leave a trainee alone, unsupervised, while collecting
I wasn't
critical
a
evidence
trainee.
in certain cases?
Say it.
Sustained.
That was a
Is it
good
a policy
question.
and practice of the LAPD that student or trainee, that probationer or criminalist
He did that on
participating in the
purpose.
very first crime scene collection matter should be there in an unsupervised capacity when they're collecting critical evidence?
It's not irrelevant that this is her first time collecting evidence from a crime scene, which just happens to be one of the most high-profile things in the last 100 years, and she's being left on her own, and she's only been there a couple of months, and Fung's an idiot, and they lied about everything, and she's having a semantics battle. I think that's particularly relevant.
Yeah, this is this testimony, this is what I'm getting at. These are my questions. Why? Why was she doing all of the stuff that Fung should have been doing? Wasn't she far less competent? And why is she arguing semantics here? If she was a trainee, she was a freaking trainee. She's trying to make herself
She's an
sound better.
anti-semantic person.
I mean, I'm sorry. She's like, oh no, that's not what it says on my resume. Come on, like just admit it. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense.
Well,
It doesn't
let's
matter
hear
whether
what.
she was a trainee or a criminalist one, because what matters is that they left her alone to do a really important job. I'm so frustrated with this. Good questioning though.
Silent P.S. Lawyer is a true gentleman. Never rude by accident.
Mm.
Does she have a nose ring? No, nose rings didn't exist. Well, I guess she kind of does, doesn't she? Yeah.
She gets really
Wow.
triggered by the word trainee. I think it's funny.
Yeah. Nobody likes to be called a trainee. Moving right along. Duncan, Idaho, fresh from the axolotl tanks, says it. You don't know what that means because you haven't watched Dune yet. Shame on you. It seems that she was named as the OIC, but then got basically mansplained out of that role by Fung. But she was still technically the OIC and didn't want to just outright surrender it. Or it was just a complete clusterfuck by everybody in the police department, where for some reason they thought it would be great to have a very, very first person, her very, very first effort at collecting evidence, be as the officer in charge of a major crime scene involving one of the most recognizable people in America. Yeah. So many changes came out of this trial. That's how poorly this trial was done.
I mean,
literally new laws, rules, and regulations were made about how to do everything associated with criminal trials came out.
Yes, but LAPD is still corrupt, just so you know.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, flash forward 30 years, we're still fucked.
Right. Well, we got, let's do like 15 more minutes here. We'll call it a 2.5 hour stream. How are we doing here? We've got 189 folks and now we're 177 viewers and 178 likes. We've crossed that threshold. And the dogs are hyperventilating behind. So let's continue.
Overruled.
I do not know what their policy is.
Well, have they ever expressed to you, ma'am, a desire to have you simply learn from your mistakes when handling important evidence at a murder crime scene?
Vague. Rephrase the question.
Is there a policy and practice of the LAPD SID unit that new probationers like yourself learn from mistakes when you're collecting?
Well, I said it and you
at a
didn't
murder
laugh,
crime
and he
scene?
gives a text and you laugh.
I'm still waking up.
When you are trained on how to collect evidence, you don't make
Forgive me.
mistakes on how to pick it up.
Wait, what?
Ms. Mazzola, you're saying that...
Wait, what? Whoa, what? What the fuck?
Wait, we gotta hear that again.
You what? You don't make mistakes when you... Was that like... We did everything... all right, I need to hear the context of this. You just don't make mistakes when you collect
Probationer, a criminalist, participating in the very first crime scene collection matter should be there in an unsupervised capacity when they're collecting critical evidence.
Okay. No, relevant. We discussed that.
I do not know what their policy is.
How do you not know the
Well,
policy? You
have
work
they
there.
ever expressed
Trainee.
to you, ma'am, a desire to have you simply learn from your mistakes when handling important evidence at a murder crime scene?
Vague. Rephrase the question.
Is there a policy and practice of the LAPD SID unit that new probationers like yourself learn from mistakes when you're collecting critical evidence at a murder crime scene?
Overruled.
When you are trained on how to collect evidence, you don't make mistakes on how to pick it up.
Ms. Mazzola, you're saying that it's impossible for you to make a mistake at a crime scene? I'm asking you a
That does not misstate the testimony. That's exactly what the fuck she just said.
What the hell? Really?
That's literally word for word. When you're a trainee learning how to collect evidence, you don't make mistakes.
Oh my god, the prosecution is gaslighting. They're like, she didn't really say that. She said something else. You're misstating her testimony. She said literally exactly that.
Oh,
She's so arrogant. She's just like, oh, I just don't make mistakes ever. Like, I'm just too perfect. What the hell?
That was literally what she said. That is
Yup.
not mischaracterizing the testimony.
Nope.
Oh,
Wow.
you have got to overrule this objection.
Oh man.
I'm scared to push play because I think he's going to sustain it. Let's see.
Question.
Oh, good. Thank fuck for that. That was literally exactly what she just said.
Yep.
Doogie.
I collect the evidence the way I was trained. That's the only way I know how to do it.
Ms. Mazzola, please answer my question.
Yeah.
Are you saying that it's impossible for you to make mistakes when collecting evidence at a crime scene?
Mistakes can happen.
And mistakes do happen. Is that correct, Ms. Mazzola?
Oh,
It's possible that they do.
And is it also true, Ms. Mazzola, that you can inadvertently make a mistake at a crime scene and not at that moment be aware of it?
Hypothetical. Overruled.
overruled. We're getting into speaking objections on both sides. I'm warning counsel at this time. Proceed.
Would you please restate the question?
He's going to ask another question.
Oh, okay.
Ask another question.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, was the objection overruled?
Yes.
Okay.
Proceed.
Okay.
Well, then.
Ask it again.
All right.
What?
Ms. Mazzola, would you agree that inadvertent mistakes can be made by the criminalist at the scene?
Shut up, Wesley.
Which may not be noticed at the time that the mistake is made.
That is possible.
So you really can't say, Ms. Mazzola, that you've never made any mistakes at the few crime scenes that you've participated in, can you?
That's true.
I have made mistakes. I have sinned.
He's getting humbled.
Dramatic pause.
By the way, Ms. Mazzola, you mentioned on direct examination that at the first crime scene that you attended, that team received a commendation. Is that right?
That's correct.
And how many items were collected by that team at that first crime scene?
I don't remember.
Well, at that first crime scene,
No
the very
regrets.
first one, Ms. Mazzola, for which they received
Mr.
a...
Neufeld, I don't want to try that crime scene.
Very calls her Miss Mazzola.
Well, let me ask you this, Ms.
Miss
Mazzola.
Corn Oil.
Have you and Dennis Fung received any commendation for your crime scene collection in this case?
Overruled.
Not to my knowledge.
And in contrast to those
What do you
first
mean,
couple
not
of
to
crime
my
scenes, Ms.
knowledge?
Mazzola,
You've received
where
them
you
or
were
you
present,
haven't?
in this case, on June 13th of
She and
1994,
Fung both
you
do
were
that.
in fact the primary collector of bloodstains as opposed to Dennis Fung. Isn't that right?
That's right.
And the Simpson case was your very first case in which you were the primary collector of bloodstain evidence. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And you personally collected almost all the bloodstains in this case on June 13th. Isn't that right?
Overruled.
The majority, yes.
To your knowledge, Ms. Mazzola, are there any written procedures of the Los Angeles Police Department limiting those crime scenes to which a probationer or trainee can participate in evidence collection?
Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter.
To my best of my
Great
knowledge, I don't
Welcome back.
know if there is a
Welcome
policy
back.
or anything.
Welcome
To the
back.
best of your knowledge, are there any procedures which say that you should have first handled crimes less serious than murder?
John Travolta's first role.
I do not know if there's a policy on that.
That was my first interaction with
To
you.
your
Uncle.
knowledge, ma'am, does the Los Angeles Police Department publish any guidelines at all as to how to supervise and train a new criminalist at a crime scene?
I don't know.
You've never heard of any?
I've never heard of any.
It was just up your
To
nose with a
knowledge,
rubber
Ms. Mazzola,
hose, not a
is
garden.
each supervising criminalist free to allow you to do as much or as little as a particular supervising criminalist chooses?
I don't know. I'm not a supervising criminalist.
But you were the
I don't know
officer
what
in
the
charge.
guidelines are.
Well, you said you'd been to 2 previous crime scenes.
She doesn't even know the
It would be fair to
policies.
say that those other 2 crime scenes, by the way, the other 2 crime scenes, was Dennis Fung your supervisor?
No.
And at the other 2 crime scenes, when Dennis Fung was not your supervisor, you certainly were not the primary collector
Later,
of bloodstain
Dustin.
evidence, were you?
It was a team effort.
Ma'am, please answer my question. Were you or were you not the primary collector of crime scene evidence at the other 2 crime scenes that you participated in?
It was about 50-50.
Ma'am, isn't it a fact that at the first two crime scenes that you participated in, that you were not the primary collector of bloodstain evidence?
Sustained. Counsel, I'm really not interested in the other crime scenes.
Ms. Mazzola, since you've been at the Los Angeles Police Department, are you aware of the LA Police Department's Crime Scene Field Unit Protocol and Procedures Manual?
Oh,
I'm not familiar with that, no.
Well, has it ever been given to you to look at?
No,
Has anyone ever instructed you to read it?
no,
Now I'm still going with rubber hose.
Have you received during the
I don't know.
year and a half that you've been with the Los Angeles
Challenge.
Police Department any manual prepared
Find where
by
he
SID
says
laying
garden
out the various
hose and tweet it
procedures
to
and
me,
rules
and
that
I
you
will
are required to
apologize
follow?
profusely.
no.
It was one of those Mandela effect things.
Is there any written manual, ma'am, that you rely on when you go out to process evidence at a crime scene?
No,
Is there any book distributed to you to instruct you on how to conduct crime scene investigation?
no,
Well, ma'am, without a textbook and without a manual, am I correct in assuming that your authority and your teacher on June 13th was exclusively Dennis Fung?
oh,
we had been taught the procedures that SID wished us to follow. There was no written material given out as in the form of a manual or textbook.
Well, on June 13th, there's no manual that you can refer to for assistance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And on June 13th, there's no textbook that you can refer to help you out on a certain matter of crime scene collection. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so the only person or the only authority that you could turn to on June 13th when you were at the crime scene was Dennis Fung. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Now, one of the things you've been taught to do, Ms. Mazzola, is to fill out and
Mazzola, I
prepare crime scene investigation field notes. Is that right?
We have been shown the notes before, yes.
And these crime scene checklists and field notes are a series of reports and forms that you're expected to accurately and completely fill out in connection with crime scene investigations. Isn't that correct?
oh,
I was told to fill in the parts that were the most important.
And were you told, ma'am, to fill out these reports and forms contemporaneously with the activities that you're engaged in?
For the most part, yes.
And were you taught, ma'am, in your Los Angeles Police Department, I think you said you attended the Mini Academy, is that right?
Correct.
Were you taught at the Los Angeles Police Department SID Mini Academy that it was important to fill out these forms accurately?
Yes.
And were you told when you were in the Mini Academy that it's impossible to remember the sequence of every event at a crime scene investigation, and therefore it is essential to record and fill out these reports?
I don't remember.
Well, is it true that between, what day did you first start with the Los Angeles Police Department, Ms. Mazzola?
January 24th, 94.
From January 24th, 1994, until you testified at a hearing on August 23rd, 1994, it was your understanding, based upon what you had been taught, that you were required to fill out these reports, these field notes, completely. Isn't that correct?
Daily Quick Bites, solving all the
I had
problems.
watched the other criminalists.
We're
in the field
both
as they fill out
correct,
theirs.
but I'm more correct.
And when you had watched the other criminalists in the field fill out theirs, they filled out these reports
That was always
completely, did
correct.
they not?
Some did.
We're both correct.
Ms. Mazzola,
Hugs.
isn't it a fact
Hugs
that it
all
was your
around.
understanding when you testified on August 23rd that you were required to fill out these reports completely and accurately?
I believe I testified something like that.
Isn't it a fact, Ms. Mazzola, that it was only after you finished testifying on August 23rd and you had testified to this duty to fill these reports out completely, that when you then got back to the
Her entire
the LA
testimony
Police
is
Department
duty.
SID lab, that individuals for the first time said, no, it's not necessary to fill them out completely. Isn't that what happened?
As I said before, I had seen other criminalists fill out portions, some fill out the entire forms.
Ms. Mazzola, I asked you, didn't you believe that up till August 23rd when you testified in this case, that is for the first 7 or 8 months of your employment, that you were required to fill out these reports completely?
Why would you not
I
fill them
believe
out
so, yes.
completely?
Not just to fill out portions, but to fill them out in totality. Isn't that right?
Yes?
And would it be fair to say, Ms. Mazzola, that when you're actually conducting the crime scene evidence collection on June 13th, you don't know in your own head what's going to be important to an investigator or to a prosecutor 6 months down the road? Isn't that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
And isn't that another reason why they want you to write everything down so other people later on will be able to reconstruct what happened?
Yeah, weird fucking theory, right?
Would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that you can't anticipate during the actual crime scene collection phase which details will be important to the investigation 6 months hence?
Hold on. You've already asked that question.
Ask it again.
Wait, it's overruled, but he asked it already?
Ms. Mazzola, one of the requirements on these forms is to note for each item collected, the location it is found. Is that right?
States facts not evidence requirements.
Overruled.
Yes.
And another item on the form is time, the time each item is collected. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And another item that up until August 23rd, you believed you were required to fill out was by whom the item was collected. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And so, ma'am, if as recently as August 23rd, you believed you were required to fill out these reports completely, you also operated under that belief when you were present on June 13th and June 14th to participate in the crime scene investigation of Mr. Simpson's case. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Did you ever receive any handouts from your superiors at the Los Angeles Police Department informing you of the importance of keeping accurate and complete records?
I don't believe so.
Did you ever receive a handout from your superiors at the Los Angeles Police Department entitled Quality Assurance and Quality Control?
That doesn't sound familiar.
Have you ever heard that term?
I've heard the terms before, but just not in the context that you're
If I
speaking.
showed you a document, might it refresh your recollection?
Maybe.
It would not refresh your recollection. Oh, that's a good place to stop, I suppose. Where are we at? We're at 32:38. That little pause there. Let's bring us up. Okay, Chandler Remington.
Yes. Hello.
What are you thinking? What's your big takeaway from today, if any? What, if anything, is your big takeaway from today?
You have to ask it in the alien voice. You're not gonna.
No.
Okay. What, if anything, is my big takeaway? I mean, honestly, it really frustrates me, the idea. Okay, so when you go through paralegal training, you are taught that if you are not meticulous in what you write down, if you even miss a single punctuation mark, that could lead to your being fired. You have to be incredibly accurate with your records. And if you're working within the LAPD and you're a criminologist, you should know that what you're doing is absolutely connected to the legal process. It will be put, into a court setting, most likely. You need to keep meticulous records. And I can't believe that this lady is just sitting there going, well, I don't make mistakes. when you're like, and I've been, apparently she thinks that she's been trained so well by the LAPD that she doesn't make mistakes. Meanwhile, she doesn't even know anything about the policies, the guidebook. She's never read it. They don't hand it out. So how has she been trained well if they have this guidebook that they don't even teach, that she's not even familiar with? It doesn't make any sense to me. And the concept that they're just going to write stuff down whenever and wherever just because they feel like it, but not everything. It doesn't make any sense at all. You need to keep a meticulous record. This is a homicide. People were killed, okay? They deserve justice. And if you don't keep a meticulous record, then there will be no justice for the people who died. So are you taking your job seriously? How are you not making mistakes? This is a huge, grave error. It's absolutely insane to me that she can sit there with such arrogance. So those are my thoughts.
Wow. There you go. Those deep thoughts.
Yeah, what do you think?
Nice comment. I think we had 2.5 hours of OJ today, 30 minutes more than normal, just because I like you guys. You guys are awesome. We're going to shut this down. What we've got coming up here. And did we mention Danielle was a member for 7 months of the Clean and Sober Crew? I can't remember if we did.
I'm not sure.
Just in case, I'll mention it again. Remy _ Chandler Remington. What do you have coming up in the near future?
Well, today at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern time, I am doing a stream on
3.5 hours from now.
On the myth of toxic masculinity. And that should be a really great show. And then later on today, I think I'm going to be on Steve Gosney's birthday stream. So that should be fun. And there's other stuff coming up tomorrow, but I can't remember it right now because I'm really sleepy. So come join my stream. And I have a celebration on Saturday to celebrate being monetized. You're invited, Jeff. Everybody who's helped me get here is absolutely invited to come and join the stream. It'll be on Saturday at, I think, 7 Eastern Standard Time. And that'll be really fun. I have a
AM
schedule.
or PM?
PM. And I have a schedule on Twitter for what's coming up this week. So go check that out.
Saturday, not Friday?
Saturday. Yeah, Friday's really busy. Can you not come?
I will not be able to be there.
Boo.
That will be my Sunday morning. I will be out of town.
Well, maybe I can switch it around. I will have to take a look.
It's supposed to be Friday.
Well, I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And if it changes, I'll let everybody know.
Yeah.
But for now, the myth of toxic masculinity, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today.
All right. And for me, tomorrow will be more Johnny Depp, Amber Heard sidebar readings. Apparently, Chandler's not coming to that.
Oh, no, I'm coming to that. I just forgot.
Okay.
I was like, I knew I was forgetting something. I'll be there.
And then if Eric Huntley invites me to Laid Back News, we'll be there.
That too.
Then whatever happens over the weekend, something like Friday night, whatever happens, then we'll be back with Maritime Monday on Monday, of course. And then more Depp v. Heard sidebar stuff until we wrap that up. The next major event is next Friday, a week from today. Like now is Friday AM, barely Friday in Korea. So I guess a week from tomorrow for most people will be F it Friday for September. So put the 15th of September on your date card. That will be our F it Friday. And there's a good chance the next weekend will be my 24-hour stream. Then after that, the next major event will probably be the retrial of young YNW Melly. Jury selection expected to begin October 9th. So that's just kind of a little what's up in the future. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. Mods, thank you for being mods. Chat, thank you for being chat. The Vice Squad chat is the best chat. We try to love each other. We try to get along. We try to enjoy our time together here. Thank you so much for being here. Come back tomorrow for more Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard sidebar stuff. Thank you, everybody. And remember the important thing, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, wherever you're doing it, always be sure to enjoy your legal vices. Thank you so much. We are out. I like this. This is our leaving screen. We're going to somehow incorporate this in. This was sent to me
I love it.
A wonderful person. We're gonna find some way to incorporate this into an outro. But for the time,
it's pretty great.
That's it. All right, folks. See ya later.